atmosphere, moving in synergy, this electricity, the power of the pioneers, tearing through history, this is our destiny.
love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
Welcome back to the ESL Challenger League Season 45. We're going to be heading into the European Division. Normally, at this stage of the tournament, I'd be saying the playoffs, but it's Europe, so everything's always the playoffs. I'm T-Time, joined by Michael, Yumi, Cassidy. Michael, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite good. We know we're all the way through, I think more than halfway through our double elimination bracket. We've been able to weed out some of the weak. We still have some teams that are still trying to cement some kind of a legacy towards the end of Counter-Strike Global Offensive's lifespan as well. So it's been quite exciting to watch teams that have been able to do quite well in recent other big tournaments, actually be able to transition into the ESL Challenger League and fight for a position in ESL Pro League.
Absolutely. And look, Michael, for all we know, this could be featuring one or two of the teams that end up in the next major finals the way things are going.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gamer Legion and all the boys underneath them as well, to be fair. We've got 3 streams for you guys today. If you're overhead, this is the B stream, so you'll be having Soul versus Eyeballers. The A stream is having Apex, shout out to the semifinalists, versus Team Spirit Academy. And then obviously we've got Sprat versus Nine, who probably would be considered one of the more likely teams to make a deeper run at the major, but weren't quite able to do so. Michael, Saw versus Eyeballers, so how are you feeling about that in particular?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the Seoul team is definitely one that's been quite interesting to keep track of over the past year or so. You know, this was a team that failed to make it into ESL Pro League Season 16, where they were actually overtaken by For the Win, who are another Portuguese team that actually have several of the players from that roster now implemented into Seoul. And that was what we saw in the last ESL Pro League season. They didn't do that well when they actually got up there, but, you know, with regards to their failings at ESL Pro League and then the major respectively, they've actually implemented more players from that For the Win roster by bringing in Arozdosh as well. You know, just used to be on this Seoul team and had been with them for a long period of time, but now they're implementing more and more of these young, I guess, up-and-coming Portuguese talents, while all keeping the sort of older guard in Muteris and Roman as well. I'm actually quite excited to see Seoul, because for a long time it felt like they were so reluctant to change out of the 5 core that they had for such a long period of time, but now we're starting to see the new generation creep in.
And of course, on the other side of the matchup, I am just particularly excited for Eyeballers. Michael, I know that they've been around for a long time, but this is the first time I'm actually getting to cast them. And I just love the fact that I'm going to be able to see JW and Flush out on the server. It's just a personal pleasure of mine. And look, we're talking about all of these teams that are making some big old major upsets and whatnot. And that just gives me more hope in my heart that maybe one day Eyeballers can make it back deep into the major. Come on, JW. Come on, Flush. I know you still got it in you. And, well, they need to show it on the server first and foremost over here, right? Like, if you can't get past Saw, you're probably not getting past Vitality in a major final.
Yeah, one of the cool things about Eyeballers is that it does feel like at different points or in different series, you'll have different players just really outperform the rest of the roster. They do feel a little strange at the moment, where sometimes if they have a bad game, everybody has a bad game, but the players who want to break you out of that slump, if you're going to have it happen to you on the Eyeballers side, are JW, Peps, or Flusher. Like, those 3 in particular are so consistent when it comes to the more nitty-gritty rounds for this Swedish squad. So yeah, I mean, it's cool that we have not only like a legacy Swedish organization coming back, you know, Flusher and JW resurrecting it for the end of Counter-Strike Global Offensive, but, you know, we have yet to see how this roster is going to pan out even further down the line, because, you know, this I imagine they haven't gotten the results that they were actually hoping to achieve and, you know, elevate the Swedish scene with this team in the lifespan that it's had.
But listen, those Swedish stacks do generally come out with at least 1 or 2 good players. Obviously, Isaac and Gamer Legion, who had a pretty damn good tournament, to be fair, overshadowed somewhat by Ema, but he had some great maps. Even in the finals, the first map that they played was pretty good from Isaac. There are these individual standout players that are going to come out and pop their heads up. And Pepsor was one of the ones who was touted as such for quite a while. Unfortunately, for my money, he hasn't showed up in the same way. But again, there's still space and there's still definitely room to try and see what can actually come out from the Eyeballer side of it. it'll be an uphill matchup against Saw. It feels like Saw is always just a consistent part of the conversation in tier 2. They've always been a contender. I mean, you only have to go back as far as the Rio Major. They almost eliminated Outsiders, who went on to win the entire thing in that crazy Inferno clutch that James actually pulled off as well, right? So you've got a lot of heartbreak coming out in their story, and it feels like maybe a couple of wins would be nice, Michael. Maybe a couple of W's on the scoreboard would be great to have. But like you said, they have to come through Ujerks and Aristotle. Let's pivot the conversation, though, Michael. I think it's time to talk a bit about the veto between these two teams, because actually their permabans do feed out pretty nicely up against the enemy team's picks, right? Eyeballers really like their Mirage, but then that's permaban up by Saw. And then Saw's been first picking between Nuke and Ancient. That's permaban by Eyeballers. Veto really seems like it's only going to go one way, though, Michael. I'm going to let you go first.
I feel like Saw just have such an advantage. If you look back at their last 5 best of 3s, they've picked a different first pick in every single one of those series, and they've only lost one of those maps. Anubis is something that they've been toying with in their first round as well. Inferno, Vertigo, like you said, Ancient Nuke, those are the ones that they're most comfortable with. But if Anubis is your solitary weak point in your first round rotations, I mean, they have so many options. It's just so hard for Eyeballers to prepare ahead of this game as to which maps they're actually going to play. But I'd like to see Vertigo as a map really from the Saw side. So just because I feel like it's been such a staple, regardless of the iterations of this roster, they've always been pretty consistent and actually just grinding out wins on Vertigo.
Yeah, Muterus on Vertigo is definitely a player that you always need to be watching out for on the CT side. He just plays that middle area of the map so damn well. Feels like he's been defining the tier 2 scene for a very long time. So I've got Vertigo for my money over there as well. I'm expecting Eyeballers to go for an overpass pick. It's actually one of the maps which Saw have struggled on a bit more historically as well. Again, a lot of their overpass successes come from Muterus and his pushes, along with maybe some rounds from Roman and Story. Historically, they've not been able to make their ops do as well. And I think if Ujerks isn't on point, that's going to be a big win condition from Eyeballers, and I'm expecting a handshake veto towards the end of it. So an Inferno Decider is sort of what I have in my mind. But I've just taken a look at the veto that we actually have coming in, and it turns out I'm wrong, Michael. I'm just bad at this. I'm really bad at this. Inferno was picked up first by Eyeballers, interesting enough. So did pick Vertigo, so we're right over there, and then Ancient is the remaining map coming through.
Yeah, no, I definitely... I'm with you. I'm a bit surprised that Overpass isn't something that they even toyed with going for. But yeah, they've ended up in, I guess, relatively comfortable territory on the Eyeballer side. Like Inferno is, they actually, I feel like you expect Eyeballers to go all 3 maps very consistently. So I'm not too surprised that they just want to get that one under their belt. It's actually how they win quite a few of their series, is that down the stretch, an Inferno will come out and they'll be able to squeak it away. So yeah, just guaranteeing that they can even get that one over the line, and maybe even conceding the idea that Seoul might take one in their own respective maps. So yeah, I always felt like the veto was going to fall into Seoul's way. They've been in better form. They've got a deeper map pool, and they've brought in some new young talent that is hoping to reinvigorate this squad and hopefully propel them into another ESL Pro League season.
Well, let's wait and find out whether they're able to get past this matchup very soon. Coming up next is going to be Inferno after a short break. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
You love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
Post-Inferno Eyeballers map pick coming out. Something that we were slightly surprised about. Seemed like it would have been a guaranteed third map. But let's see. Maybe the throw for us some tea time, joined by Michael Yumi Cassidy. And we've got Flusha with a whole lot of utility in his pockets.
Yeah, two teams that are in very similar camps, old and new guard alike, and so off to a very pacey start to this pistol, already taking over banana control, where Shine is the only defender of this B bomb site. He doesn't have any utility to delay, nothing that can help bridge the gap to allow the rotates to come in for the rest of the Swedes. So he's in for a world of hurt. Sora ready for the execute.
And this is going to be a slow rotate. You've got a double graveyard set up on the A-bomb side as well. Not conducive at all to the rotates. Shine will not find any kills either. So if you're looking for the full retake, Flush has got to have every single piece of this utility work out beautifully. And even look at how the route that they're actually taking. They're trying to come in through Banana on the retake with all 4 players. Shine the only person from CT. And remember, no util on him, so it's not like he can flash his teammates in or anything like it. JW tagged up early. Ours Doce, the one to deliver the goosh, and now the flash is good, but he can duck away, get a bit more backup, perhaps. Doesn't need it. Ours Doce takes down 1 after already getting the tags earlier on. Leaves users to try and contend with Shine, and although the Molotov comes through and they are forced off, it just seems like this pistol round is completely impossible. They've fallen apart all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, really solid positioning even there from Shine to try and delay as long as possible, keep himself alive, and just have this extra flank in from CT. It looked like Seoul were going to get caught off by that because they were setting up, they boosted Flower so that they had another avenue to sort of defend the banana take, almost like they were a CT side. But as soon as you're able to get 1 kill there on Ars Doce, Seoul knew exactly just the kind of numbers that were coming in from Banana. They could then focus in on that one tunnel back into the bomb site. They were able to get into such strong post-plant positions, even though Eyeballers had all that utility. It was just almost impossible to implement any of it.
Yeah. Definitely a little bit strange to see them actually go for the 4 players down middle as a result of that. Pepstar, I appreciate the attempt, right? It's valiant, but it is entirely unsuccessful. Roman, however, is about to be stabbed in the back, and you know what? Michael Caesar was Roman as well, so makes sense.
Super tight.
Don't talk about JW that way.
Well, nice cleanup from the rest of the Seoul camp. 1 kill from the back, but don't imagine that Flush is going to get a whole lot of anything from this position. He's distracted by balcony, and he'll get shot in the back by Story. A man like Story, you know, going from the Seoul roster to For the Win back to Seoul. It felt like at one point or another, the management or the players must have realized what they were missing. You know, it takes a little bit of distance before the heart grows fonder. And he's been able, I think he's probably been the most consistent piece to this roster, and that helps, you know, and Orper coming into your team, even though I don't think he's putting up quite the same sort of star numbers as he was on For the Win, it does seem like it's been enough to help elevate the rest of the squad as well.
And look, at the end of the day, U-Jerks is the big boy off the team, right? That we're always going to be keeping an eye out for. Obviously, he gave such an explosive performance last year to allow him into the EPL conference and beyond, and that is what you're looking out for and hoping to get once again. Flash in the light shouldn't matter. They've been avoided. Sape gets a kill regardless of the partial blind. Muris somehow actually gets a response from the Log's position. Just a slight misstep from Shine. Needed 1-for-1. And JW is looking to try and convert further, but the nade in his hand's not going to be conducive at all. Seems like he had the advantage any day of the week on that duel, just couldn't pull the trigger fast enough. Pepstar won't make the same mistake.
Yeah, nice little stutter peek into that. Roman wasn't expecting that whatsoever, but they've still got a nice crossfire into apartments as well as Moto presence. Flusha showing his hand already and dropping the bomb, but Pepstar's been dealt with and the flash will be dodged. Aras Doce able to get a handle back on the situation and get that hand back on the bomb as well. A smoke at Moto where Sapek just is segmented from the site, and that just makes it so much harder for him to do much of anything on this retake.
Gotta be a save at this point. There is a kit nearby, so maybe that's recoverable, right? I think that's dropped over towards a hay card, and if he comes in through apartments, there is a possibility. It is a double eco afterwards, regardless. As not a double eco, but just an eco in general, right? So what's one M4 going to make a difference, I suppose? That's the mindset you're going into it with. Sapek, though, misses out on his chance to make it into an instant one-on-one by a slim second.
Yeah, and even the damage on an exit could have been found, but also missing that chance. It did seem like he actually wanted to go for it, but nobody showing themselves, just still containing the site, and he chose the wrong path to punish either position. Seoul off to a pretty solid start, and one of the players that's leading the way is Muterus, the in-game leader, and you kind of talked about him for his Vertigo performances and him being at kind of the center of the map on CT sides. I do think since they've brought in Arrows Dolce, they've actually been able to allow Muterus to be more aggressive, be more like pack focused in the system, which is strange because Arrows Dolce was actually one of these players that would be a part of those packs very frequently, but is now sort of throwing a lot of the utility alongside players like Story. It's very strange because Saw are in the lower bracket, but they're actually one of the teams that leads the way in flash assists, utility damage, even navigating out of 4 versus 5 so far in the regular season. So strange that those are statistics that usually mean you're a very successful team, but they still only have 1 life left in the ESL Challenger League.
Oh. Yeah, unfortunately, the 2 lives does make it pretty damn hard to win one of these events.
Yeah.
As it should be. The Post Pro League will not ever be easy, and the circuit does definitely guarantee that. Just as a reminder to people, the reason why we thought it was a little bit odd that Eyeballers picked into Inferno is because Saw is pretty damn good on it, to be honest. So, just felt like a bit of a redundancy. Maybe the overpass could be exploited instead, and so far Saw has been flexing their T side quite nicely. 4 is guaranteed, and beyond doesn't seem to be something they need to worry about so far.
That said, only looking at, win rates can sometimes lead you to a false sense of security. I know that was a criticism when people were playing, we cover quite a lot of Asian Counter-Strike, playing teams, like anybody that went up against the Mongols and allowed them to play Inferno when, their win rates recently have not been great, but it is their most confident map.
For sure.
So it can be, there's 2 different ways you can look at the same kind of result. So maybe the Eyeballers spotted something, but we haven't seen any of that come to fruition as of yet.
Shine's M4 might finally be taken away from him.
Oh.
And yeah, beautiful shot from Aristotle, not hesitating at all. So no gun saved forward. Eyeballers will have a full buy regardless, but the future economy will be put to test as a result of that potentially.
Yeah, just about the perfect peak there at the end. No saving graces, but max loss bonus and, well, them not committing to a buy will allow them finally to get this AWP out into JW's hands. And, I talked a little bit about this earlier, the fact that sometimes when they have a rough game, everybody struggles, but you want somebody like JW, Flusha, or Pepsor, the 3 guys with the most experience on this Eyeballers team to bail you out, and they have done in prior series. Gotta try and kill Muterus first. The guy is yet to die.
Might not in this one either, but he is going to be taking up with the pack later on. Flasher is good for the first 2 hours. Dodge and Roman die immediately. Ujek's not nearby enough to try and go for the trade, and although the Molotov could have been thrown, he misses the chance. In the meanwhile, chop down Flusher has been eliminated. JW for the flick down. Keeps things interesting, but interest and life are both lost together. Story flashed off the angle, will have to return back to long range. A single duel to take Shine on the other side, however, will not let that come through to fruition. And now, can the Unkillable remain immortal? No. Doesn't seem like it. Sapek will take him down.
Oh, I really thought he was going to have a way back into that after Shine took so much damage. If he had escaped into the apartments, Muterus could have made a total round of that. But yeah, finally dealing with him, and a great initial first 2 kills there from Flusha. The setup there from Eyeballers, Saw had no idea that they were going to be double stacked like that. So honed in on those apartments. One took aggro, the other in Flusha was just able to sweep up both those frags respectively, and Saw just couldn't recover. So yeah, finally a buy goes the way of the Eyeballers, but some nice built-up cash from Saw as a result of the prior round wins, consecutive victories, and Shine may just instigate exactly that. Udrik's already hitting the deck after some heavy B presence by the Eyeballers. They had a 3B start, they had a bombardment of utility, and Udrik's was completely isolated. Said earlier that Saw are one of the teams that actually do quite well in these 4-on-5s, but
Yeah.
one caveat to that is that they're also one of the worst in the league at giving away opening duels. So it's the reason why they end up in those 4v5 so frequently.
They get a lot of reps in there.
Yes.
Oh, no. That's a bit of a mistake from Sapek on the jump spot. Roman able to catch him off, and now with the smoke down, well, 4v5 back to a 4-4, so conversion is still something yet to be seen. The spray won't really tag all too much. Shine ends up taking a fair bit of damage as he tries to re-round back to Coffins. There is no one to find early into it, and with the re-smoke of CT, as well as a presence for Muterus, this is not going to be easy. JW, through the smoke, is dead. Flusha, honestly, not too far from the grave either.
And trying to head of the Molotov, so it feels like he has to fight forward. Aras Dolce found, and Story, Muterus hunting that trade. Shine will eventually get one more back, but Story's been dropped as well. It's now a 1-on-2. Roman trapped behind the smoke, but they've both got kits. One can cover the smoke, the other can try and stick it, and if Roman doesn't find this kill into Flusha, then it's all gonna be over. Eyeballers will take it. Roman in a terrible spot to try and contest that one, but a really contestable, what was a man deficit coming into this B-side play. Shine the absolute hero.
Funnily enough, Roman almost gets a kill on the Flusha because Pepsor crouches down to take the peek and the duel. So his bullets accidentally graze Flusha. If Flusha had taken even one more bullet through the smoke earlier on that's just gone around right there and then. But Eyeballer is still able to come through with a second in a row, and that does actually put test to the Saw economy. Remember, they've only been keeping 2 alive largely, more often than not. The lack of deaths on Muterus should not be something to take on for the rest of them.
Get up to a nice 0, and he's now been struggling. It's another round where he will be on the worst end of the exchange at Banana. 21 HP and still alive, but hard for Soul to know where to go. They've had a couple of misreads on the way that Eyeballers are going to be approaching these defenses on the CT side. We've seen some nice adjustments in terms of going with these earlier stacks on the B side of things, but also changing up their setups and, you know, not being aggressive, but still being forward-facing enough that it'll catch Soul before they end up in, you know, taking the bomb site on an execute.
Oh, Shine just catches them off Sapek as well while he's blind. Finds one arrow torch in the trade, but as they've taken so much damage and more beyond it, Shine has just been an absolute disaster for Saul on the D bomb site so far. Feels like he's been the reason for so much viable retake success, and honestly, in this round, they can put a lot on his shoulders now as well.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of utility, but still have nothing else in the tank to delay either.
Flush's grenade could be big as well if he wants to just deliver this out towards the new box position. That would just be an instant kill to be found. Maybe doesn't want to use it. No, yes he does. Arrows Dolce down. Shine right in, and with the flashbang from JW, Story is just easy picking for Pepsor as well. Great retakes on the D bomb side consistently coming through. And this time with 4 players alive, money can start to be built up.
Yeah, that was a full force buy from the Soul side to try and overturn it once again, but at least for them, the good news is that they've been able to get bomb plants down. So they can toy with the idea of doing it once more, but we're likely to see them bend the knee, go for a half buy, and get a full commitment into the next round. And so the Eyeballers should be allowed to tie up here. These pistols are definitely nothing to scoff at, but the Eyeballers have really pulled their socks up on the CT side. You know, it's nice that we're getting Shine engaged. I think especially when the Eyeballers first formed, him, Sapek, and God, there was another player, he had a more awkward name to say, and I'd probably butcher the pronunciation anyway. But you know, they brought in
Slap?
Ooh, no.
No, Slap is the coach. Is it Svedge
Head, yes.
Okay.
You know, they actually, for the opening few games that they had, actually very much impressed. And I think ever since they brought in Pepsor, maybe seeing Shine and Sapek be a bit of a back foot, but Nice to see that Shine's been able to put up some numbers, show some damage. Speaking of Pepsor, he's actually the first casualty of this round. As Dolce dealing with him, trying to push him towards the second middle position. And Sapek
nice.
overrun. So these pistols, I said they were nothing to laugh at. They've broken into B, and they've got a 2-man advantage. Eyeballers may just call it quits completely.
They also have 2 more smokes. There's literally no way for Eyeballers to come back into it. That position taken right there from Sapek is actually a very risky one, considering that all he has is an op to discourage anyone from coming behind him. JW can do literally nothing to support him over there unless he throws out a flashbang preemptively or just a Molotov to let him get back. And because Sapek, I believe, was a little bit wide, he couldn't back off a safety in that circumstance. So nice second kill from Sol, and that's all she wrote. So Eyeballers not quite able to equalize in a round that should have been theirs. Pepsor even getting found out that early on, an aggressive peek into the second middle, all the way in from the bedroom itself. That's a little bit kill hungry.
It almost feels like they had a misread on the economy, because I think if they went for those fights when they were on rifles, like, you know, the fight with the AWP over towards B, and even just a flash peek towards second middle, you know, those are fights that we see in gun rounds more so than against pistols.
True.
So may have expected that, given that Seoul went for the timeout, they might have actually committed Galils, given that they got the bomb plant down, but no, it was just pistols, and Eyeballers get punished for it. They did get to save on a few of these players, so at the very least, it's you know, they're not thrown into the deep end of the mud just yet, but with another lease on life, but JW will strip Muterus of his at the start of this one.
Well, Michael, here's another rep for the 4v5. This one a little bit. Ooh. Oh. Actually, Roman comes through with the second one as well, and Arrows dodges there to cover off JW while he was preoccupied with scoping right onto default. They've just completely brought it back. Okay.
Yeah, you were kind of joking, but lo and behold, even though JW for a moment had it into a 3-on-5, it just comes cascading down, and Ours Dolce as well. So sharp on Shine's flank, so Sapek, well, best he can do is try and recover this AWP, but that smoke's not going to last forever. He's got to go sooner rather than later.
I don't actually know how Roman got that much space in getting all the way up. He did take damage early on through the Molotov, and I believe maybe even a stray bullet. I'm not sure about that one, but they had information. And despite that, he's just able to get into a prime position and find those 2 big frags.
They were double moto-side. Double moto-side city play, and so he just got all the way up short, and you know, I think he was right behind JW as sort of backup for the long hold. Yeah, they're just caught out of position. It is kind of crazy that Roman got that much space up short, especially when they were anticipating, you know, heavy A presence. But yeah, not the ideal setup. They thought it was going to be more long focused, and it was not. Well, looking at JW to spark some life into the Eyeballers here, they are actually buying up around his saved orb.
Not too surprised about that one. Their lost bonus isn't fantastic, and also at this point, Saw could legitimately run away with a half if you give them 7. You've already seen what they can do with 4v5s and whatnot, but it's such a risk to go for this max 7. There's definitely angles you can make it work. Flash has been playing over towards the A-bomb side, pop it out in Inferno. And Inferno, wow, yes, I just had the entire map. Wow, great angle. In the apartments, and yeah, you can see some magic happen, but let's wait to see whether it will be magic or not.
Ooh, and the nade almost gave enough smoke coverage there for JW to squeak away with at least the opening frag. It looked like it would have been on, but pretty sure there was a whole building between him and his target. Couldn't see a damn thing, but could have been a way in. Could have stressed Soul's 4v5 statistic even further.
Well, maybe we can.
Yeah. Deep smoke too.
Plus it does work out with the AK as well. Ooh, beautiful. Utrecht just finds him turning around for the flashbang, perhaps, or something like it. And now wants to keep it going. That's a bit much. Overextension as Shine will respond. JW once again smoked off and unable to do anything on this bomb site at all. A double smoke out for Coffin, and Shine's been forced back shore. There's 2 Molotovs left for Saw, but even so, wouldn't be too surprised if Eyeballers just decide to try and maybe get a couple of flash pushes through for JW and the like, but no, Molotov now comes through, and they'll be forced to wait for a round.
They still have a smoke, and they don't have kits, so they need to be able to get a move on, and losing more and more numbers is not ideal. JW taking a lot of damage, but finding Roman at the very least. So only Story and Muterus that can help defend in this post plant. Everyone is still taking their time. They're trying to throw that util down. Story, an instant trade right back, but JW up against it. He'll out-AWP him. He'll take the low ground and take the round right back for the Eyeballers.
God, that's such a risky play to go for from JW, right? He's only got 7 HP at that stage. He's just, the headshot angle is what you'd normally gravitate towards, just saying, hey, yeah, there's an AWP on the other side. I'll just take the headshot peek against him. But no, instead, just goes for the old-fashioned. Muterus even plays that really well. He peeks out of the perfect timing, gets himself another kill as well. Unfortunately, just traded out there and then, and saw another opportunity to continue extending that 4v5 stat. Will not this time come to fruition. But even then, man, a one-on-one after all of that.
Incredibly scary. And, you know, considering they could have actually taken the half buy instead, you know, they end up with a very similar looking buy coming up to the following round and still have a full one, so... Oh. I mean, you see what JW's trying to get at. So many openings, and that could have been one of them again. Giving a lot of respect on these mid-fights.
For good reason, man. JW is still unafraid of going for some very aggressive peaks.
Well, they seem a little lost as to where they even want to go right now on the Soul side. Haven't asserted themselves too much on Banana, haven't taken brackets either, and we've chewed off about 50 seconds off that clock. Feeling a little constricted here. By the time they actually move in and take an area of control, they're going to have to commit off of it.
Well, there's no utility left in terms of Molotovs for them either. So this seems like it has to be the A-bomb side. And as Flasha just holds outside of the apartment's door, this Mag 7 is going to be such a nightmare. U-Jerks is gone. Second bound. Flasha. This isn't the Mag 7. It's the Magic 7. And Flasha, well, he's always been for a bit of razzmatazz and the mouse in the hands. Still, 3-on-3 as they do get the refracts.
Yeah, Roman separated his teammates Molotov out from the apartment, so he doesn't want to commit to the actual site just yet. There could be one more player there, but Eyeballers are actually on the rotate, and Shine has a flank already.
Flank's being washed out for, though. Question. Click. Oh, beautiful. Shine just completely overruns him, but he's immediately traded. Flashbang in his hand, not expecting another to be so close by. They had 3 apartments earlier on, and Muterus never dropped down. Roman has to be second point of contact. Muterus wants to try and take the peak pass again with utility in their hands. Muterus is so good with his timings, but even the gun on Sapek will prove insufficient to take his life.
Oh, just no read on how this post plant was set up here by Soul, but you see the effort here from Flusha. It made it so Soul had to grind down to a halt. You know, that extra Molotov that was down, that's where Eyeballers had the advantage before that bomb even got planted. But yeah, Muterus has been on a heater. He's hit some really nice shots on entry kills. You know, he got a few from the pistol round and all the sort of subsequent afterwards as well. But he has been the one person that you have to deal with in these late round moments. Otherwise, he's going to find his impact.
And on the flip side of things, Pepsor has not been having a good time with the A-bombs. He's had a few good kills in the retake, you know, 1 or 2 here or there, but largely speaking, even in that position, right, Flusha gets 2. Pepsor is supposed to be the one set up for success regardless, playing from behind the default box, a very strong position. Doesn't get any frags. Earlier on, we saw him getting caught out twice as well, once with against the Deagle, once over towards the second motor position, and it's not all his fault, but it's just not the best of times for a player who is supposed to be this incredibly strong player.
Supposed to be the supplementary, you know, the guy that bridges the gap between experience and new guys, but they're getting tough your smoke. I don't know what you can really do. Absolor just wants a chance. He's had some, but this was not one of those rounds. Sora looking mighty feisty. And it would be great to see whether or not they could actually make a good run and actually contest for a spot ESL Pro League, given You know, of all the Seoul rosters, you know, it feels like we get them, you know, they have their peaks and troves throughout the year, every year. And sometimes it can just take one event to peak at the right time. I feel like this roster is definitely of a more threatening caliber. You know, I think it's got a nice balance of players.
Thanks.
Proof will have to be in the pudding. They do find themselves in the lower bracket, both them and the Eyeballers. So one of them will be, unfortunately, facing down the barrel of elimination from this season.
I do quite like the fact that Flusha has like 4 of his skills with the max 7, and they've actually been very highly impactful.
Man of many weapons. Him and JW,
yeah.
they both love a shotgun.
Oh, for sure, man. The shotgun and the CZs. Flush is one of the players who seem to have always stuck to the CZ. After 5-7 was being touted as overpowered. Which it probably was, but yeah.
Interesting players to watch. I don't know that anyone would really want to mirror their styles. They get away with some awfully interesting plays. Makes it fun, but hard to replicate.
Yeah.
It's much more forward here on the Eyeballers defense. You see Flusha changing his spots with the shotgun, trying to be elusive, annoying. May even find a lurk, but this forward presence over at B could also be double-edged sword. Sapek dropped, and Shine will swing immediately afterwards after he took contact. But they're both low, and Shine takes out Sapek. It's a crossfire, but they got in the way of one another, and JW at least there to hold onto this B bomb side. Bomb dropped, and Roman trying to track him down. That Molotov chewing off more and more health. But 13 HP, a 1-on-2 presented, and Eyeballers on the flank.
Roman should be able to get in position over here. They don't have a smoke to block him off either, but there is the Molotov, so he'll be forced to re-navigate all the way back to CT. If they stick the bomb defuse, and that's exactly what's happening, but no kit makes it a lot more difficult to predict. Smoke back in CT, and Roman's giving it up. The full 10-second, and Pepsor even gets a spam. Eyeballers up to 5, but I have to say, some of that came down to Saw just not really being ready for another player here or there. You know, Flusha's kill is fantastic, but the fact that JW's given an extra frag, they're just not prepared for the third player on the B-bomb site. Yeah,
I mean, just given the fact that they were, you know, not prepped with sort of counter flash from the bomb site on the Eyeballers, you know, that was a player that was rotating in at a pretty opportune time. If there was a flash or there was a nade, then Seoul would have had their suspicions raised, but nice use of the forward setup as well as that rotate in time. Using out the appropriate funds to get a proper full buy into the following round should Eyeballers actually convert on this full buy.
And so far they've been looking pretty good on the first round, at least in this round. 2 players already down to almost nothingness who just spammed with the smoke, so on those kills for the smoke, they go the other way as well.
Yeah, we've seen Flusha with more shotguns than rifles.
A testament both to the CT economy and the selflessness of veterans. I say selfless, but I'm pretty sure he loves that shotgun.
Doing it for him.
JW forced off the angle. Muterus takes a peek without a flashbang, and Muterus finds success perfectly. Doesn't get licked by his own flames. Unfortunately, he's been given a taste of his own medicine, caught with a grenade in his hand, and Muterus will be taken down. Pepsor, 40 seconds, and as the re-navigation back to the B-bomb site comes through, Sapek is the one to keep an eye out on. However, he's not going to be pushing forward aggressively. It's all Shine, and he turns into the flashbang. The timing could not be worse. And with the smoke ready and waiting, they just have to be sure that Sapek doesn't get too many kills with the spam. They're all solo. On Ujerks and Roman more than anyone else, and Ujerks still standing inside the smoke. The stones on this man. Wanting to try and phase the smoke with only 2 HP left is not an easy decision.
Given that he's so low, he's ready to take that risk, but Flusha is so late to rotate in. Oh, Flusha will have no idea that Ujerks is up close. So this man is dead inside a CT. Sapek dropped, but Flusha going out to clear it. He's suspicious of smoke plays himself. It's a man advantage here for Saw, and it only gets worse. Pepsor dropped as well. So Saw holding on, and it's Ares Dolce with 3 to bring Saw up to 9.
Gosh, that's such poor timing for Shine. You just got to feel for him. Looking right into the flashbang as it sails through.
Yeah. That's what changes the round. That's so
Yeah,
that's so
honestly, this
wild.
completely turns it on its head. Shine's been so good on the B bomb side anchor, right? He's top ranking for his team right now, 11 on the scoreboard. So many of those kills have been on aggressive retakes. It's not like he's just been standing in spot and getting them delivered to him either. He was the man you wanted in that situation. Unfortunately, now as a result of that, you might end up on 10 for Saw. At least that's what the buy indicates.
Yeah, the only one that's got the weapon that they want in this round is Flusher. Economic man. It is
If you have
strange.
low expectations, you will never be disappointed.
He's just, I mean, he's a solid rifler as well, so I don't know why he's trapped himself in shotgun land, but he's been landing the shots with the shotgun, so can't really knock it. Yeah, it could be double digits here for Soul. Even though they killed Muterus the Undying.
Unfortunately, he went from 10-0 to 17-7, so still the 180 is pretty damn good. Oh, JW, what are you thinking about? Pushes through the smoke, will be punished for it, but at the very least, turns it into 4-4, and hey, there's still 4 more players in the same bomb site. The full stack was, of course, called through, and when the smoke dissipates, there's a real chance here to bring things back in their advantage. Best put it out, but they're not ready for Roman. Story still gives him that backup. When there is Dodger getting another one, is it time for the Magic 7 to come true from Mr. Flush himself? No. I feel like that seems unlikely. First shot missed, second one will connect, and Bomb is re-navigating back to the B-bomb.
Yeah, I mean, now they know where he is. I'm surprised they even were surprised that he was there with the shotgun, but oh my god! Oh! Roman, the easiest kill, and it's flubbed. Flusher even jumping, he was surprised, caught off guard, so this 1-on-3 now brought down to 2 is certainly feasible.
I mean, well, he's one of the greatest clutchers of all Counter-Strike history. But you've got to be kidding me. This is going to be preposterous if he pulls this off. Still moving in 2 players to try to swing out. Damn Flusher! He still got it. 13-9. Mag 7 maybe where he's having fun, but the rifle's where he's here to dominate. 6th secured for Eyeballers as we move into that second half. We'll be back after a short break. a little bit of insanity to help eyeballers out towards the end of it. But where will they flourish if not insanity with JW and Flush on their team? 9-6 Saw will be kicking themselves about that last round. But let's see what they can do over here on the CT side.
That's the power of having Flush on a rifle. He was finally able to have a round of very high influence. So yeah, this might weigh on the minds of the Seoul players. You know, he talks about them bringing in some younger guys to this team. Arizdoche has only been with them for about a month. And that is going to weigh heavy on them. That could have been a 10-5 half, but let's see if the Eyeballers can strike back in this pistol to bridge that gap even further. They've got a flash lined up for this B push.
Better be picking out soon. Don't want to end up getting timing though. Could be difficult. Fusion, what a shot. Don't even need the flashbang. It comes out late and it's only there to delay. Sapek, however, gets a trade. Still 3-on-2, so with the advantage. And Muterus responds to the rotate to come through with the flank as well. Roman needs to get a single kill from inside. The Molotov will be struggling to do that. Flush is there to finish him off. Still definitely heating up.
They were watching the flank for only a half second, and Flush had turned the wrong direction. Even with the low HP of Sapek, can't find the final bullet. Muterus just trying to keep him in place and keep tabs on him. His teammates right behind that smoke, and now crossing back into the site. It seems like a death sentence. Arizdoche and Muterus can both swing together. And Saw, a nice little aggressive maneuver in that pistol, caught Eyeballers off, and it's really the efforts of Ujer. He got 2 kills from this banana position, even though he got traded almost as soon as he fired a bullet out of the chamber.
Yeah.
It looks like some homework's been done. Pretty much the perfect read to what the Eyeballers were setting up for. And so Saw may have anticipated themselves that Inferno would see play, maybe not this early in the series. Definitely as it pertains to the pistols. Prepared. Kind of an ambitious move there from Sapek, given his team were nowhere near Banana. There was no trades, no nothing.
I mean, you've heard of the Glock train, but have you heard about the Glock individual carriages?
Somewhere along the lines,
there's a reason for that.
The plan got derailed.
Well, Arizdoche is looking like he's a little bit money hungry. He's actually ended up missing out Pepso as a result of it, and will be able to turn back and find him later on. So all 3 SMGs do actually come through with some kills. So that's quite nice.
Yeah, extra $3,000 injected into the CT economy.
Woo!
Exactly what you hope for. But it is quite a deep commitment into these SMGs. Usually, you know, the balance I like is 3 rifles, 2 SMGs. That way, when you end up against these gun versus gun rounds, you don't feel like you're at a massive disadvantage. But given the amount of cash they funded up on those weapons, maybe this is something that can be justified. And let's not dismiss the MP9 as a strong weapon, especially in these close corners, similar to a shotgun, with a bit more mobility and a bit more margin for error.
I don't think they were actually spotted by Arizdoche over there. Ready for this peek? Pepsor just peeks out and gets it done. That's the first toss. Now he's hoping to turn things around on the T side. He's sight as well, so they will be occupied, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see someone just turn back and attempt to save. Even though they do have 2 SMGs, and you would like to see the rifles come out from them, armor and whatnot is still quite nice.
Yeah, and it's these extra resources via utility that they want to hold on to. JW even doing his due diligence. Funneling that M4 away.
JW was someone else who did have a slightly harder first half, right? He was in so many situations on the B-bomb site where it felt like his op just couldn't do much because he was smoked off repeatedly. So either he was getting aggressive on A and finding actually quite a bit of impact, or he was just sort of absent.
Yeah, and even in the rounds where he found that impact on the AWP, they didn't always convert those rounds. You know, I recall 2 kills on that A site, and then it just got overrun. It had a momentary 5-on-3.
And Roman just comes up through short and kills everyone, yeah.
So, hard to get, you know, a round win with the instigation of JW, even though he'd found quite a lot of those openers like you were talking about, but yeah, maybe an opportunity to unleash him a little bit more on the T side. Soul may have some of the same issues, you know, in terms of locking down and mustering up solid defenses. on this half. Some solid aggressive utility that would prevent them from getting into the apartments early on the Eyeballers, but Seoul don't exactly take that ground either. In fact, they're caught out with utility, much like we saw the Eyeballers get caught a number of times on their CT side. Uterus not punished all the way down, though. Still 19 available on his health bar, and Flusher will even get naded to around the same numbers. So the early damage exchanges has come to a bit of a draw. Flash in for Sapek, but counter flash being lined up by Soul. In fact, a nade just to land on Sapek's head, and Roman will play up close. That's why this SMG can be very fruitful, but Eyeballers are peeling away from that banana position, waiting for the mid-smoke to fade before establishing some control into the brackets. That's where they found their entries in the last round, and they're hoping that Soul are once again up close.
Well, look, they do have a lot of utility at the very least, sure, but it's going to be a difficult breach when you consider that Arizroch himself has got himself a smoke flashbang and a grenade. There's a lot you can do, and Muterus having rotated over might not be the best of players to do it because of his low HP, but Arizroch could potentially set up for a flash peek through from library as well to try and find the first, but unfortunately Story's already dead. There's not much he can provide onto the server here. Arizroch as well goes down without a single fight, so all those maybe what-ifs and perhaps have all gone down and out. Not a single casualty so far in Eyeballers, and that will not change. They may be tenderized, but this meat is still fighting back.
Yeah, I mean, really solid work. And in fact, everybody that was, like you said, softened up, just able to keep themselves alive and even get the kills that they were sort of tasked with. So, yeah, Soul actually had a few avenues back into that round, but like you said, the rotates were kind of in flux, even though Eyeballers were making their presence known on their mid-control efforts. Soul weren't quite as convinced that it was going to be as straightforward as that. And now they're down on pistols, so the Eyeballers can get a little closer. And they want a round on pistols, or rather a half-buy on Soul on their T side. So Eyeballers wits about them. Oh god, that didn't look like it was going to be a kill that Story walked away with, but the third bullet, the third time's a charm. Didn't get away with his efforts, nor with the rifle that's dropped. Now, it will feel as though Eyeballers have to commit B. They've conceded all of middle. They have no presence towards the apartments. They're worried that it might be a stack. So Soul actually pulling an extra player over here is very much thinking ahead of the curve.
Question is, can they actually get to that moment though? Because there isn't really looking like too many opportunities available for them. Roman traded out as well, and now is Dodger unable to find a frag. So, yeah, so good thinking, good stacking, good result, less so.
Yeah, one more weapon out of their hands, and you know it's more than you would have expected from this round, all in all. It's enough return on investment to weaken your team, your opponent's economy. Keeping 3 is the magic number. In fact, there might even be a world where Muterus is able to run away with one of these rifles that's dropped. Couldn't find it.
Yep, definitely not finding it.
He ran so far away into CT spawn. You don't have to go that far. Like, the bomb radius on Inferno is quite large, but you can get to about, I think, sort of speedway, and
He didn't have armor though, so
yes, no, I know it is scary.
yeah.
You get brought down to about like 19 HP, 11 maybe,
Yeah.
from full healthy, but might have been enough for the extra distance to grab a hand on that rifle. Or the Eyeballers had actually done their due diligence. We've seen them already through that prior rounds as well. Poor start. Story went for the mid peak, and it's already been punished by JW, so they're at a deficit once again. So 4-on-5s have been a trend throughout this season, and they will continue to be so, rather, in this game against the Swedes. Nice peel back there from Arizroch, boosted up. I think did so independently.
Full rotation back to where the B-bomb side is something that Seoul have been no strangers to committing to early on, but this time it is slightly different. Because of the amount of time there is still left on the clock, eyeballers might be able to cheat in, and without flashes, they definitely need to cheat in. It's very difficult, and Utrix is right up in their faces. He's taken too much damage from the initial duel, and it's easy pickings for Flasher to shut him down. Still a 3-on-3 with a lot of utility and a kit for Saw, so this retake is very much possible. Unfortunately, they've lost Muterus, and that makes it a whole lot more difficult. As Dodge considering smoking out Banana, but at this point they've decided to go back for the save instead. I don't blame them for it. It would be so hard to move into the bomb side without a single flash. That's what Muterus had. That could have been the game changer.
Yeah, and a very, that's a bit of a risky peak, a risky fight for Pepsor to take, especially given that he's had quite a rough game so far. He wanted to peek all the way down deep B, maybe even clear towards T-steps before he felt comfortable to help out in that post plant, but as soon as he found Muterus, yeah, Saul just call it quits. Like you said, the extra util would have been nice. The extra attack avenue would have also benefited them. The eyeballers are now within touching distance. Saw have been trounced after what was a good start to this half. Winning the pistol and the subsequent. The eyeballers have been able to strike in with some consistency here on this T side. It's a 9-6 half. It's now brought within 1. This is a swing round. If Saw decide to commit fully around the 2 saved weapons, then it will be about, keeping their economy afloat. It's not quite, I say swing, it's not quite the traditional sense, but it does feel like for the momentum and the mentality, especially when Saw could have even found themselves at a 10-5, they've also struggled to get any sort of clean opener or play any 5v4s themselves most of this game. The eyeballers have really been the ones that have fumbled some of those opportunities. So we'll feel a little shortchanged about how this game has gone, especially considering, we had this talk about how this is a strong map for Seoul. To a certain degree, they have 2 first picks. Certainly looked convincing at the start of this game.
Yeah.
From Roman. Didn't get many prompts, didn't see a whole lot of anything, but his bullets connected.
This is still looking like Saw are in the right position, but they've been in the right position before. Unfortunately, they've just been losing out of time. It's very off even right now. User turns around, worst possible time. They were setting up for the flashbang, and Muterus, who was the one to hold and deploy it, is just punished as well. Dude, these timings that the T-sides are getting on either side are honestly just heartbreaking to watch sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, some of the timings we saw from Saw on their T side were definitely more, in these sort of mid-rounds, or when, they were going in for retakes. That's when Saw were catching them off. And, those actually make more sense to a certain degree. There's an unexpected position, they're going in for a trade, something of the like, but this was just all off a feel and a miscue from the Seoul players as to when to throw the flash or at what timing they wanted to re-aggress. The eyeballers were just in their face before they knew it, and yeah, they're turning around as they're taking the fights, and they don't even get to save a single one of their weapons. In fact, Flusher will lose his life in an effort to make sure that Seoul have nothing. That feels like a backbreaker round. You have a 3B set up. You're in the right place to address the eyeballers' aggression. Kind of similar to the pistol, but they're going in for more of a retake effort, and none of them feel like they've got a fair fight.
Half-fight would be something massive to try and take home, but unfortunately just not going to be an option. It seems like Roman and Ujerks will be the ones to find some success, but still a 3-on-3 story could be the difference maker. Unfortunately, he's only got a P250, not the best weapon in a close range angle. 5-7 could go a long way here, but maybe the double tap could be found regardless. Lots of noise made, drop down as well, but the adjustment is just not there. Ujerks accelerating into a short will be interrupted by a Molotov that will be segmenting him away from the bomb site. No need to actually push in yet. Muterus tries to do so before Jerks is in position to throw flashes, anything like it, but the element of surprise is not enough. A few too many missed bullets, and now Jerks is alone in a 1-on-3. Quickly turns it back to 2, gets the opportunity for more, and now the smoke can actually separate away both fuels. Potentially, they will be the ones to have to make a move. An eyeballer, Sapik is down and out, and Jerks is looking for his own clutch. This one, though, will be denied. Eyeballers will still come through. 12th found, and if Muterus had just found that one kill, maybe there was something that could have been done.
Yeah, just maybe. Neither player really had a sightline to protect Shine inside the site. They were already setting up in post plants to cover the apartments and a long effort. So yeah, that could have been the kill that swings it around, especially considering Muterus has had, I mean, he had an impeccable start to this game. Guy didn't die for his first 10 kills. Since then has had more and more of a struggle as this game has ground on. The Eyeballers in with a lead.
Oh.
It may not be retained for long.
Absol's been slowly coming back into the game. Been quite an influential figure in a few of these mid and late round situations. Got some good kills. Not this one, though. Slow boost over. I remember this was, I mean, maybe just me who saw it first, but I remember for some reason that this was initially popularized by the old JW Flash F Fnatic when Golden was still there as well. So, just something to call back to.
Yeah, I think I remember you telling me about that as well. It's always hard to find who does what first. Everybody sort of learns from one another. Seeing a demo once and everybody's doing it.
Yeah. And everyone steals from Big.
They do.
From what I've heard, at the very least. Flash and Sapik have got a lot of room to work with, and with 2 more players coming in from behind, so are quite far away. They need these frags, and Muterus will only connect with 1. Sapik's double entry is marvelous. And the 3-on-3 retake once again seems unlikely, even more so with that kill found. JW not stopping yet, goes for a secondary peek, spots out the player. Roman is a dead man shooting.
What?
What? Are you kidding me? Hey, yo, Sonora Vac out here.
And Jerks just tried to get away. His teammates failed, and he wanted nothing to do with it, but he doesn't get the safety of a rifle in the following round. Eyeballers, I mean, first off, lead was already something that we hadn't really seen from them for most of this game, and now having a cushion of 2 where Soul shouldn't really buy here. We're likely seeing the Eyeballers up to 14. So this game that felt like it was in the palm of Soul's hand. You know, some of the rounds that they lost, some of the rounds that they gained, it felt like they probably shouldn't have gotten as much as they did out of that T side. But now the Eyeballers are really making, weirdly enough, making Soul's setups look almost like worse, actually.
A lot worse.
And it's not for a lack of trying.
Yes, they're in good positions, right? But then Sapik just coming through with that double entry over there, that's massive. Muterus gets 1 kill. You know what? You're expecting him to get a second when Sapik is taking the second duel initially immediately. Just these small little things that aren't going Saul's way.
Yeah, the 3B where they got aggressive and everybody's turning around from flat like that. Those are rounds that, you know, in theory, half a second earlier, that play goes the other way. You know, Soul could have immediately trounced any of the Eyeballers' aggression.
Oh, well,
could he see him?
That's seems unfair.
It didn't look like he could have seen him, but he was spamming, so Flush just spams right back. Got a lot to learn, you jerks.
Flush's reputation definitely is one that he still has the right to maintain. Get some pretty, what the hell just happened there kills, even now. Gotta love it. That is one of those things that I always remember, that the original players for me who, you know, you always told people don't watch their demos, you're gonna get nothing out of it, was Kenny S, JW, and Flasha.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah. Maybe a few of those before my time, but at least that's what it was for me. Roman is playing with a hope and a dream, and with the time that's left, there is actually a fair amount that he can get done. Muterus reveals his position as well, but they're rerouting back to the A bomb site. Stories, the Eagle will have a real chance to get something done, and with Roman rotating out his weapons as well, this is going to be a retake that's very possible. 8 seconds on the clock. Stories is to try and deny the bomb plant, but it will not be happening. They can get it down in time. This will be absolutely down to the second, and they feel like they have to try and retake this on Saw, but Roman is low, and the AWP needs to be saved potentially. And they've decided, and that's exactly what will be happening. Story and Muterus, they're going to go for some exit, something like it, but nothing beyond.
Jeez, I mean, what a call to make there from the Eyeballers. We haven't seen that type of late round rotation from them all T side. And that's why Seoul weren't convinced that it was going to be a bounce back towards that A side. They still kept one there, and it still wasn't enough. Even saving these weapons would have been nice at the very least, but all they get is Roman on that AWP. Eyeballers are getting closer and closer, and sure, there's going to be another buy here in the tank for Seoul, but we've seen many of these buys go askew. Right now, the Eyeballers are sort of weighing in on that experience, I think.
Yeah.
You know, some of the rounds that they've lost as well, it seems like they've pushed past them much easier than Seoul have. And now as well, pulling out a move like that, you know, I feel like you wouldn't see many other teams decide to go for such a late round rotation in quite that same manner.
I'm really enjoying watching them. So have their own fantastic rounds, but feels like when we're seeing Eyeballers, it just is a little bit more convincing in their step even.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Look at this. Right now, nobody's holding for any sort of apartments pressure. If Pepsor just walked out balcony and never peeked short, they would be none the wiser.
Oh, Story. Beautiful frag to be found on a JW. The timing is perfect, but Pepsor even better. Gets it done. Smoke off as well. Story's not going to have anything to offer beyond a stray shot and maybe even a call to go back and save at this stage. Now, there's not that much usual on Eyeballers, so second motor spawn could be coming through after a few seconds, but beyond that, there's nothing to prevent the retake. It's a 3-on-4 though, and on Inferno, that's basically automatically hey, let's just say we'll play for overtime.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that they could and should have gone for this, given that the next round is going to have many of the same issues. But they actually had 2 Molotovs, a smoke, a flash. These are resources you often don't have on retakes on Inferno, given that it's a lot of late round or sort of mid-round situations where if you're going to take B control or you're going to try and contest middle, you're using those nades very early. But Seoul actually had those resources, but like you said, the numbers is where they decide that that's a bridge too far to cross. Eyeballers move up to 15, and it's the exact gap that I was trying to highlight before, is that nobody was watching the apartments, and Pepsor just simply walks out, finds both of them not looking his direction at all. An oversight, but also one of the few times that there hasn't been as much pressure into the apartments, whether it's been a flash, an HE, a smoke even from the Seoul side, so Pepsor reads it well.
Eyeballers, once again, very passive early default. No duels being taken, nothing being given up either as in the way of information, because Saw has been a little bit hesitant to explore apartments too deeply. They know nothing about what's going on.
We've seen both of the AWPers struggle on this map as well. So JW force a lot of fights on his CT side, and Story has tried in a couple of rounds to do the same, but doesn't have that same level of fight, I think, for those duels. Conceding position very frequently. Nice nade onto Roman, but Not a lot of bullets fired by either squad. Eyeballers now focusing in onto the brackets, and they're trying to take the space away rather quickly. Muter is forced all the way back deep inside the arches, and Sapek will drop him. Took a lot of damage, but Pepsor as well out of the apartments. Story has to have a good performance here on the site, but one will be all he gets. It's a 4-on-2 to fight for map point, and Eyeballers look like they're going to take away their pick in Inferno right here and now.
And we questioned it. We questioned going into it, but you know what? A performance like this on the T side, no less, is nothing short of impressive. Sure, that's a magical round, but this is just going to be the seal applied. Roman's got no chance here whatsoever. The 1v4 is being covered off. JW will close it out there. And again, Michael, yes, they had some BS rounds. Right? I'm not going to lie. But they also had a damn lot of good reads, great timings being found. A lot of individual duels being won, even if they don't have the read or the timing. Eyeballers just look like the better squad here.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely got themselves into better winning positions, you know, found a lot of opening duels, definitely fumbled the bag on a few of those. But we talked about how Seoul have been very successful in winning back from deficits. The Eyeballers kept their wits about them. They always kept focused and didn't look like they were sort of shaken down confidence-wise in any sense as well throughout this game. And I really do think one of those last rounds of that first half definitely weighed heavy on the Seoul players. You know, they saw that mistake shine through, and then it felt like we got more and more mistakes that happened after.
And, you know, there were opportunities even later on, right? Like, Ujerix had that 1v4 that he almost clutches together as well. Unfortunately, Pepsor just shuts him down in the last one-on-one situation, too. Like, there's places where you can see that maybe, bro, I just dropped my microphone. That's a thing as well. But they dropped the ball, and maybe that's a little bit more criminal. Because, you know, there's places like in that Muterus 2 versus 3 on the A side as well. I think it was Muterus and Story together. They're just not able to get the frags. Things like this coming up where Saw were struggling a lot going into that second half.
Yeah, and it felt like, you know, we had the right players kind of shine through for them. You know, we kind of highlight Pepsor as one of the instigators for this team. It felt like he had a slow start on that CT side, but more on T, you got more of those rounds of influence, especially one of these last rounds of regulation, just being able to sneak out of the apartments like that. There aren't many players that have an awful game, and they don't feel like many of their fights are going their way, that take a big risk like that. So, you know, that's where the experience was going to shine through, as much as there is Muterus and Roman, who have been in the Portuguese scene for long periods of time, and have been on this Seoul roster now for, I think, well, I want to say like 3-4 years, even though they've had a couple of roster shuffles here and there. You know, these are guys that you want to be able to rely upon, but they haven't reached the same heights that the likes of Flusha, JW, even Pepsor has to his limited playing career. So, yeah, there is that gap, and the Eyeballers, I mean, they looked very impressive to recover this first map, even though it might have been a risk. They definitely saw something in this Inferno, and, well, Saw just didn't come with the same sort of firepower.
Well, let's see whether they can present that firepower on Vertigo, because that is, of course, their own map pick. Another map where chaos and late round rotations can thrive. Question is, can Eyeballers bring it there? We'll find out after a short break.
You love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
There's fire in the atmosphere, moving in synergy. This electricity, the power of the pioneers, tearing through history. This is our destiny. We are the power. We are the change. We are the pioneers of paradise and fame. We push it louder like hurricanes. We are the pioneers. We are the pioneers.
I hope you're not afraid of heights, because Eyeballers have some players who've gone to the heights and beyond. Haha, you thought I was going to make a Vertigo joke. Hey, it's Saul's map pick as we go into it. And Eyeballers, of course, coming out on top on Inferno.
Man, I really feel baited. You've subverted my expectations even coming into this game. And Eyeballers certainly have in this series. Soul definitely with the higher ranking, definitely have been in better form. Eyeballers putting their foot down on Inferno. We'll see whether it's going to be a better fight put up by the Portuguese on their map pick in Vertigo. But right now, it's looking like they've targeted the right bomb site. It's completely vacant. Eyeballers going with a majority stack on that A side and only having deep CT control via Flusha. So it's a full 5-on-5 retake.
Looks like it's an empty server dry run going on so far. Now they've remembered there's opponents as well, and Muterus has taken one down, not really dropped off the elevated position. No reason to do so just quite yet. Advantage down and maintained. Flusher will be able to get a refrag or two, but even then it's all going to be falling apart and maybe even falling apart on our screens. But regardless, we'll just be 3 players kept alive. Saul takes it home.
Yeah, we saw the last frame before devastation, and the Eyeballers are put in their place. Had a stack on that A side, Soul coming with a different plan, and just are able to mosey their way all the way through that B bomb site without any sort of resistance from the Eyeballers. And even though they had, you know, a flash, smoke, a kit available, they just weren't in great enough positions to implement it. Kind of similar to what we saw on the Inferno pistol as well. Because you have retake utility, doesn't mean you're always going to have the same space that's necessary to use it. Into USPs, the Eyeballers not getting much of anything in that prior round. I like that Soul are not being scared by these USPs. Aggressive maneuvers by Aros Doche over towards the B-bomb site. He's slowly clearing that out while his teammates are asserting some presence over at A as well.
Roman misses out on what could have been death, what could have been a lot of money. Who really knows? Oh, well now he definitely knows what the rotate's coming through, and he is definitely planning a bit of extra cash coming in out of it all. Yeah, what an absolute sneaky bastard this man is.
Yeah, waited for the steps before he made his move, because he knew his teammates had full control of the B-bomb site, so they had to be around him somewhere. And yeah, the Eyeballers were none the wiser that he was going to be right there waiting for the right time to strike.
I think the real question now is, will we see any players from Eyeballers on the B-bomb side?
Almost certainly. I mean, there has to be.
You gave it away. I'm actually very curious to see how exactly Flusha will be playing this one out. Of course, CT side of Inferno, we saw a lot of Mag 7 play and whatnot coming into it. Not really seen him all as much on the rifle and the B-bomb side. Definitely where we should see him shining a little bit more.
Kind of a cheeky angle from Pepsor. Hard to hit the headshot. From the T side perspective, his head is covered majority by the pallets. So I like that they're playing pretty forward here on this defense. You know, not giving away ramp for free. All the meanwhile, Pepsor is clearing mid, and actually has the opportunity to fast line. Could that even become an option? But that's cutting them down at the gate. Future release a trade right back to JW, and Sapex dropped as well. So Pepsor will commit to this flank, and he'll put Saw on a timer.
Might have been a bit of miscommunication coming up between Sapek and JW over there, but yeah, Saw rotation will be coming out and through. Good forward from Pepsor, catches off Aras Doce, so right back to the 3-on-2. Saw will get the bomb plant in regardless, and that's when Shine and company will start to move forward, but the flashbang to interrupt any ascent. Muterus talked about how he is the big man on Vertigo. Unfortunately, he's the only man right now left on the bomb set, and not for long. So Eyeballers will recover, but only 2 players kept alive.
That was a dirty shot, and really felt like it was going to allow Saw at least the additional manpower that was needed to bring that one over the line, but Pepsor just doing so much on that flank, keeping them pinned in position, and if they couldn't deal with him, then there was really no safety in the after plant. Eyeballers striking back as soon as they get onto the rifles, and so Saw will have to move in for a reinvestment, one that could topple their own economy down into a position where Eyeballers can actually overtake.
Even when I saw it in the replay, I got a bit shocked. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, one of the... I mean, honestly, Muterus has been very impressive for his role on the team. You know, he's the in-game leader, he's the oldest man on this squad. Yeah. And at one point or another, even took a break from in-game leading for Seoul. I think Stododo took the reins for a little bit. That's where Story was brought in as an AWPer, and then they got rid of him when Muterus took back over. All very cyclical.
That was a weird time.
Very odd indeed.
JW's been exploited. Roll on the one, find him. Sapik trying to phase out the smoke, will not be in for too much of a good time. Flashbang dodged out, but he's turned away. U-jerks to find him and shut him down. Shine needs to put up a defense, unable to get more than just the one. Flash has lost most of his HP. Over towards that B-bomb, so I wouldn't be surprised if the call is to save, but Russia now is still trying to go for any sort of an initial peek that he can, or initial play to be made via Pepso's hands. But they will end up... Are they retreating or not? Like, what's going on over here, right? Flasha's backing off. Pepsor is deciding maybe I can stick around.
Yeah, Pepsor still wanted to go for at least a little bit more damage, maybe to incentivize them back in, but Flusha, given his HP, was already calling it quits, so maybe not on the same page. See, Pepsor still sticking around to see if anyone on Soul decides to chase, but they should be worried about their own money. It would be nice if Flusha could nab one of these rifles that's dropped along the path. See Roman doing his due diligence, making sure to pick up any nades that have been dropped over. A passive end to allow these two weapons to be saved here on the eyeballers. Flusha picking up an AK. And Soul moving in with a third round on this T side. Now, things started off well on Inferno. You know, we talked about the fact that they could have been at a 10-5 lead moving in out of that first half on Inferno. They started on that T side as well. So as much as they would want to start to feel good about how the proceedings have gone thus far on the second map, they know it's not without some potential issues later on. Very passive angle from Muterus, spotted one player cross, so they should be very aware that a flank could be coming. Pepsor will be sussed out. That's one of the rifles that was saved over from the last round. Sapik found by the AWP. He didn't commit around these two weapons. They know they've gone by around the corner. But they were hoping that push get into an advanced spot. Flusha does peel one back, but trades instant from the Soul camp.
JW won't have an option either. I'm very curious to see how they utilize him in Vertigo. Because obviously on Inferno we saw him finding actually a fair bit of success whenever he's forcing out peaks and going for aggressive picks on the A-bomb side, but really nothing whatsoever on the retakes. So far he's been...
Flusha, no? And then dropped it over.
Yeah. You're right. No, I think you're right, definitely. Would have probably been a little bit light on utility for him, though, and as the B-bomb side player, you don't really want to see that happening. Regardless, though, I mean, even that just speaks volumes, right? The fact that they're not prioritizing the op, and JW, he's not been having the greatest of time playing from Tarp. Been, you know, one or two places where between him and Sapek, they've not had the best of communication either. And to be frank, eyeballers haven't been having a good time across almost all of their players.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see what the turnaround is going to be.
Yeah, it took a couple of rounds of heroics from either Flusha or JW to, you know, spark a little bit more interest in their Inferno CT side. And we've yet to really see that come to fruition here on Vertigo. There is always hope, but wonder whether Soul will leave hope at the door. Wouldn't be surprised if we start to see, you know, Pepsor go for that aggressive line more and more frequently, you know, try and pressure Soul when they're trying to set up for either A control or B stairs as a territory to set up for an execute. If Pepsor can be a nuisance in middle, maybe even deal with Muterus, then there is always a way forward. Not even sure how Muterus took the damage at the start of this round, whether he was tagged by utility or whether that was a teammate. It felt like it was so early it had to have been a teammate.
What does 47 damage, though?
A right click to the back, perhaps?
I think it does less than that. Not sure. Wouldn't be the best at damage values when it's being done by teammates and knives.
Yeah. Reduce damage to teammates, so it can be hard to gauge at times.
Look at how fast eyeballers are willing to angle back over towards the A bomb site from all the training that's actually come through, and that is the worst decision they could make at this point. Flash has only got a smoke, no flashes to actually help out, not for his teammates either to actually come through, and this will be a rough time. Rotations are being called in, but the cavalry will not be there before Muterus is. Muterus traded out, but Flusha loses a lot of life for it. Makes it all the more easy for Ujurks to trace him and bring him down. And now the 3-on-4, you've got no kit, you've got no util, a grenade that isn't going to find a kill, and now Shine's low as well. This seems like it is a call to save it, seeming inevitable. JW, however, with another kill found, is actually making this a bit more possible. Saw's response is to push back into CT spawn, and this does differentiate them from the bomb itself. So it'll be hard to get anyone off of the defuse. Roman getting aggressive. Shine on the other side is ready for it, but Roman gets a headshot immediately. He can't actually get the defuse taken down, so despite the good kills he's getting, the movement of the head as well. Sapek almost gets it done, but I think he took himself off of it in the end.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. So the thing about defusing these days is that you make too sharp a turn and it will actually take you off the defuse. There was once upon a time people used to bump their DPI and spin like no tomorrow to try and keep themselves from getting headshot. He tried to just do these fast 180s, and for a while it worked, but it was in the final, I think, 1 or 2 spins that he ended up taking himself off of the defuse, and it was moments away from a full stick.
Damn. Heartbreaking round.
That's Valve spitting in your face. That was a change that happened quite some time ago, and that's the way that people try to circumvent it, you know, like just make smaller movements, because if you do too sharp a turn, then those diffuse wires just suddenly disconnect.
Roman hitting some nut shots as well, right? Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
wouldn't have mattered in the end. Now Saw, they had money. They don't care if it's a one-on-one. CT's pushing through. Peps or perhaps some desperation in the Deagles, but the hands will find no blood.
Doing the most to JW there, sort of sailing towards him, but bullets will be what finishes him off. Yeah, this half-back commitment has found a whole lot of nothing so far. So doing a good job of mitigating losses as well in these rounds gone by. Roman caught with util out in hand, and so threw the Molotov down, but he lost his reinforcements. The player that was supposed to back him up on his retreat. In fact, the nade from Flusha will finish off the job. So Roman, we saw from his perspective, that was hectic. A couple of rifles lost over towards A ramp, but they're still sticking around here on Saw to make sure this doesn't fall into enemy hands.
Story isn't going to want to use Molotov either. That's going to force him to unscope, and before that's even a possibility, Sapek finds him. So 2-on-2. Rotations coming in as well. Flusha on the flank to potentially catch them off too, but the question is, how long will it take him before he gets there? Molotov well placed, but it's a little bit late, so it wouldn't have mattered all that much regardless. They don't even take a single point of damage from it, so it is effectively completely useless. If Flusha can find a kill, there is a rifle as well that he could collect. Still an opportunity, perhaps. Ujurks' position given up as well. Aristotle, however, is being peeked into. He's missed his shots. He's missed his chance. Shine now taking the duel off. Flusha as well will combine forces with a flashbang. Ends up blinding shot. Flusha and Shine simply can't find anything. Even if he gets the kill, I don't think he's got time, and he realizes it as well.
Oh, man, that was so close. They had the right idea. Flusha, last seen on the A site, re-navigated through middle to commit to a flank, and that was something that Seoul were not anticipating whatsoever, but that flash, had it not blinded up Shine as well, he was lined up for that trade perfectly, and he would have had the defuse if it had happened in that instant, but those extra seconds, sure, it's by the skin of their teeth, but Seoul are squeaking away with some very close rounds. A Roman 1 versus 3, and then now a round like this where even on Eyeballer's half buy, starting 3 on 5, they almost win it. Early indicators. Heard the tag on the Molotov and hear the steps in through middle. They're pretty far forward on the B defense on the Eyeballers, so Pepsor would have heard all of this noise being mustered up by the Portuguese squad. After all that presence, they peel away. So the Eyeballers will be left guessing. They'll have to try and retake this area themselves, lest they be constantly concerned about getting wrapped on either site.
So has largely been outmaneuvering Eyeballers, but honestly, more often than that, they've been out-aiming and getting some pretty fortunate rounds. It's a combination of everything that can go wrong. And it is going wrong so far. Can Flush put a stop to it? He's been one of the more stable hands so far, but flashes galore likely to stream true. Muterus and Aras Dolce both finding a kill apiece simultaneously, and once again, seems like this is going to be nearly impossible. Muterus gives out his position as well in his retreat backwards, so they're going to be looking to obsess over finding him, but he's the hell out of there. There is nothing at all to find and all the risk in the world.
Finally, they figure out where Muterus has gone off to. He's back to his old position in the generators, and the nade will finish him off, so at the very least, they punish him for his efforts, but his job's done. He got his kill on the lurk. He made it so that there was no fast response to what was an entry over towards the B site. And Muterus is more than happy with that. Couple kills on the exit, sure, but Saw are up to 7 already on the attack.
I don't even know who I asked to step up at this point from Eyeballers, right? Like, because Pepstar can't continue trying to get aggressive. He's only found success once or so. Yeah, at this point, it seems like more of an expected situation. Flush, sure, he might get 1 kill on the B bomb site, but beyond that, like, what are you asking from him? And all 3 of the A site players just are falling apart. Sapek, Shine, and JW just aren't getting much done.
Yeah, as far as characterizing their play, like Flusha, you want him to be one of these prongs, but throughout his whole career, he's not really been like a massive instigating kind of player. You know, he will mainly outposition you. He'll out-aim you in like some critical moment.
He's a late round guy.
Yes. I want him leading the charge. It is hard. You know, that's where you want someone like Sapek to get more involved. And usually on T sides, that is where he is far more, you know, an entry sort of player. But CT, it is kind of here or there about who decides to go for plays like that. Depends game to game, map to map. The same bus. Let's head to Struggle Town.
Fully blind Sean will be caught out. Uzurks to take him down, and Sapek's nowhere nearby to actually get the trade in time. Molotov to keep him out of position, and as soon as he finds his kill, the advantage is still returned into Saw's hands. JW got a spotted on the rifle, but that's not enough to get too much done. Secondary Molotov as well. Muterus almost burned down, but keeps himself alive with just a 7 HP.
I mean, you look at the position of Aras Dolce. He's pressuring in from the back line, and so they've missed the timing on him rotating through the B bomb site. These players can't escape.
But I can't really go forward either because Aras Dolce is coming in. Beautiful flashbang, but he doesn't actually get the kill initially on Flusha, so Flusha can respond. They do at least secure their route backwards, and that's exactly what they're looking to exercise now. JW and Flusha simply have nothing to offer. It seems like most of JW's skills is unfortunately just well. And I know that that's true for a lot of them, but more so for him.
Yeah, another kill added to the tally where Muterus was sent to the bomb regardless of where he went, so he had to push forward and somehow catch one of them off guard. Had his knife drawn. Wasn't ready for Eyeballers to stick around as heavily as they did. And sure, these rounds are costly, but with each and every one that Seoul wins, it just becomes more and more justified. They're fine to take these consolations and take these hits to their economy, considering they've already won out the half with 8. A different map, a different shotgun. Zapek with an XM, trying to play up close to ramp. So I've been putting a lot of priority on this area in these rounds gone by. In fact, they want to get a little bit physical, play in front of that deep ramp smoke, but Zapek's not seeing a whole lot of anything. They're trapped behind that box, and that Molotov is segmenting both sides from it. The flash is great, but Zapek actually caught by him and Shine right behind him. The damage is great, but no kills found off of that shotgun. So a 4-on-3 after the dust settles. Seoul with an advantage that only peels further into their favor. Aris Dolce finding 1 at B, but the flusher trade does mean that Seoul are left with limited options.
I know it's an 8-1, but this could very well have been like a 4-4 situation for Eyeball. There's so many rounds where it feels like they've just barely missed the timing, barely been flashed, barely made a small mistake, and unfortunately, can't keep doing that again and again.
Does the low. The players are low enough that even 1 tick on U-Jerks would have been enough, but JW's gone, just trying to peel his way through the elevator smoke, and while U-Jerks was softened up, they know exactly where Flusha is now. He's pinned in position, that AWP of Story holding and locking him in place, but he took the low ground, and Story wasn't ready. Lining up, but no! Muterus isn't missing a beat on kills like that. 11 for him, the in-game leader of Seoul, and Seoul are now up to 9.
And no signs of stopping.
They are
No signs of stopping whatsoever.
outmaneuvering him. Like you said earlier on.
That flashbang was perfect.
I mean, the flash, I think, was the eyeballers as well, which is...
Well, that was imperfect.
yeah. Not sure. I think there was one thrown by Seoul, but I thought the eyeballers players dodged it.
The first flash was from Eyeballer. I think the second one was from Saw. But regardless, the point is they were blind. They couldn't
and they were
see.
ready.
Yeah. That XM
Cool.
could have found a lot of success, but now, instead, you're back on the buy with 2 players once again in a compromised position. Not that it would have really mattered. We haven't really seen pretty much any success from Eyeballer so far at all.
Yeah, we're not even getting, you know, these sort of forced opening duels from JW, which was, I think, one of the silver linings to what was an ultimately pretty poor half on Inferno.
Yeah, he tried early on from Tarp with the M4, but just wasn't quite able to get that coordination to the same extent and whatnot. Flusha now back to Ye Old Faithful. Got to get a bit of magic now. Oh no. Magic spotted, but they've actually been caught out completely. Shine manages to push through and find a kill. Unfortunately, Roman, who gets it right, had also found another frag earlier on, so despite a cute little play, he doesn't have an advantage he had. Freest kill in the West.
Yeah, and magnificent. With their gun, no less. An SMG. Extra money, they don't care about that. But it's insult to injury. Pepsour's 4 health is not going to be enough to hold on to this A site, so they're somewhat reliant on Flusha finding something on his adventure through B. But what, he's got a mag and committing to this on a flank. I wouldn't say it's the ideal weapon to have.
At least throw it away, man. Right, at least try and chuck it at their faces or something. Pick it up and throw it at them if you have to. No, okay. He does throw it away.
But he might just give this weapon over to somebody else for him to have a shotgun in the next round.
I don't think B-side Vertigo is unfortunately quite as conducive. There's angles, but yeah, not quite the apps.
See the kind of confidence that Seoul are playing this map with, even though they lost some pretty heartbreaking rounds on Inferno. This has been a staple of pretty much every Seoul roster that's come to fruition in the past 3 or 4 years. this, Nuke, those are ones that they like to really hammer in on their rise.
I think Nuke's been a little bit more hit or miss, right? But this has been the consistent. Uterus has something about this map down to lock. Again, the tower progression just gives them absolutely nothing. Sapik and JW, the combination that they've tried numerous times here on the A-bomb site, finding absolutely nothing.
Caught with nades out. This happened on Inferno as well when we were looking at their CT side. They're trying to set up for retake utility, or they're trying to slow down the push with a Molotov, and they just get caught by a player aggressing right into them and just shooting them while they've got... I mean, they just don't have their gun out. It's strange because, to some respects, I'm sure they know this just as well. Like, if they're just gonna push into us, we need to have maybe an extra player there that's throwing the util, but have our guns ready for those fights. And they have in certain moments, but then they've been out-dueled, and so now they've opted to try and slow the roll more by, you know, pulling the util out themselves, get that extra Molotov down, the extra HE that might slow them down. But they're still just unable to find a solution that works. In fact, Story will even make the job a little easier. Oh my... Pepsor could have very well gotten away with 3 kills attributed to him, even though he would have only been credited with 2 of them.
Unfortunately, none of them would have mattered all that much when you're down 111.
No, almost certainly not. It wouldn't have changed the outcome of the round. Nor the outcome of this bye.
Yeah, maybe not even the outcome. But as one-sided as it is, an 11-4 half, they could maybe transition into some sort of comeback epiphany. Nice grenade. Will be doing a pretty sizable amount of damage, actually. I would honestly love to see Eyeballers maybe just train something up and prioritize, hell, even a hyper defensive setup or something like it. Just play for the retake, because their duels on the A ramp have just not gone their way.
Yeah, and they actually do seem like they're, you know, they've got the retake Molotovs and lineups for planter positions pretty much on lock, but anytime they've used them, it's always been in a desperate spot. Pepsor 1 for 1 over on this B bomb site. Does tank a nade, and the Molotov will force him further forward. I don't think they'll anticipate that he's going to go as aggressive as this. Pepsor could just completely uproot any idea of a B play.
Well, that idea of a B play has been taken away, though. Muterus is the only one left, and he's going to get a freebie. Pepsor not aware at all of a player back in shelf, and there's no one to refrag either. Shine, goodbye. Don't challenge Muterus on his own map. Roman has to contend with the players who've rotated over, but they've been contending with those players all game long. Sapik and JW, they're not even contention. They're just stats for some now.
Yeah, bullied. And you know, looking at the Veto earlier on, I was sort of saying, like, if you wanted to see Eyeballers play 3 maps, you know, a 3rd map decider on Inferno, Eyeballers are very much used to that. And that's why they sometimes win best of 3 series. But it felt like they did want a guarantee to some extent coming into this series, and maybe this is why. You know, this Vertigo from Seoul has really just picked them to pieces.
Oh. JW might finally have an opportunity to provide some value through Tarp. That's a position he's been struggling with so far. However, they maintain aggression. Want to keep this 4v3 and actually convert on it. Aris Doce moving forward. JW almost caught out with a position completely looking the other way, but instead he will just be a 2v3 as his teammate dies in his place.
Oh, the nade. Wasn't all that needed.
Wall. Looking for the blood in the water. 2 versus 1. Muterus has pulled off some pretty magical rounds, some pretty great calls as well. And with the smoke down, he can try and differentiate. AK in his hand, but not ready for Pepsar to shut him down. Still, I don't think so particularly minds the fact that they've lost the second round, but at the very least some hope.
Nice action just down the ramp. Caught Soul trying to sneak around the deep ramp smoke a couple of times over. And JW just able to stand his ground as a result of it. Definitely an important piece, but like you said, has had his difficulties in this game. I like this. A little bit more aggressive here on the eyeballers. Flusha ahead of the B main smoke. Then he realizes that there's no presence here. So it's all about how much he wants to sort of push those limits, if even to do so would be a bit of a risk. So I imagine would have accounted for it to some capacity, but already losing so much health on Roman, who's been one of the leading men in taking over that A ramp territory.
A lot of HP loss out from Uterus as well. However, remember, Pepsar has generally been playing the second player toward the B bomb site recently, but they've left B mid open. Flush has been forced to rotate back over, so there is a large chasm in the map. They try to make up for it by getting aggressive, but that aggression is just punished. That chasm is about to be explored, but not before Muterus' kill is found. So 3-on-3, utility aplenty for the T side. Will not be the easiest place to try and go in from, but Flush is still making the attempt, gets another frag, and actually gets away to safety behind the Jennies, and he wants to keep going for a little bit more. Flush shot out there. For great kills to try and end out this half as well. A 12-3 found, courtesy of a 3K from him. The question is, can they do anything in the second half? We'll find out after a short break. A battering. An absolute battering. You could say it's a trebuchet, it's a catapult, it's a lot of other medieval weapons as well, because what we saw being done to Eyeballers was some old school brutality.
Yeah, I couldn't get the defenses up. No burning oil to stop the Saw siege. So now they're going to have to try their best on their defense. Or rather, on their offense. To bring this one back. I was thinking about Saw and how they might just take this one in the next 4 rounds. But this pistol will help determine a lot of that.
It has to be the necessary first step, and the first step starts with Jets for Eyeballers. Arizdocha to deliver, and deliver he does. Second found as he burns away in the flames. Trades are there, but the bomb's been dropped. Story continues to come through and be a bit of a rock and roller.
That was, honestly, very easy looking. One player taking first contact, an instant headshot, and then the follow-up flash. Eyeballers full blind for what was a follow-up. And then Story just able to take his place. So, really marvelous stuff between the two of them. Obviously, ex-teammates from their For the Win stint. I was actually there for definitely a longer period of time. Glocks here for the Eyeballers to try and answer back, and I think they don't find too much success. The SMGs, the HEs are chewing them up, and Arizdocha there as well to alleviate that pressure. Muterus was under a man who plays in the center of the map, and as much as we might have talked about it before, heading into this Vertigo, about how, honestly, how well Muterus plays on CT side Vertigo, I don't imagine we're going to see much of it.
Yeah.
Been doing his best work on the T side, weirdly enough, but that's part of what I was talking about when, you know, U-Jerks, or Arizdocha came in rather, that Muterus feels like he's, to some extent, had the leash pulled off of him. Far more involved.
And just as effective. Dude, Arizdocha is also such a nice addition to the Saw lineup. Generally speaking, seems like everyone family has just come through and made so just a little bit better. And right now they're looking like they're a whole lot better than Eyeballers. Getting aggro, but Arizdocha actually spots him out. Will be looking for a secondary face as well as a third. Arizdocha. Nicely done, and they are falling apart. Eyeballers will have absolutely nothing to offer to this game. Flush are the only player to have gone past 10 kills, and he's sitting on 18, but the rest of his teammates are very far behind.
Is actually quite cool to see. I think even the interim coach for Seoul is somebody that used to play at one point or another for the win, and had a chance to play with both U-Jerks and Arizdocha for, I think, 4 or 5 months before his departure and his move to more analyst and coaching work. That's where he jumped ship to Seoul. So there's many connections between the up-and-comer organization and Seoul, a mainstay in the Portuguese region, and surely flexing their muscles here on the map that has been a staple for such a long time. Zapek has other chances. 1 kill, but it's traded immediately, and Roman is there to alleviate some of that extra pressure. Smoke down, Muterus there to cover his retreat, but Roman pinned in, but he's still keeping the Eyeballers at bay.
3 HP is all he's got, but he's actually managed to move all the way out and take another duel from behind the flames of the Molotov. Bepsar late to find the kill, and Story will be unable to do that either. Does get the spot, and Arizdocha starts to rotate, but god damn, that is criminal.
Yeah.
That they let Roman get away with so much.
Ridiculous that he even ran out with his knife, even though he knew they were ramp moments ago. But it's now calmed down into this 2-on-2, a vacuum. Certainly felt around the map, and sort of tried to plug that up as best they can. They separated while the Eyeballers have allowed them to reset.
Deuce will have Story in a very good position as long as he doesn't need to scope out, but he's starting to get suspicious about a flank to come through, and Pepsar, he's going to be very fortunate about his timing, potentially moving in from behind back to CT, and Story turns back. Talked about fortune in his diving, but not so much in his crosshair placement. Unfortunately, just wasn't quite ready. And now Flash is all alone. Is a player you want to have in this position. Khalil recovered. Flashbang on him as well, but a smoke down and the bomb's being stuck. The flashbang overhead won't be doing too much. Flasha can't find the kill. Story is covering it off, and Saw will take it away 16-3. They look untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, a fantastic showing from Seoul, all in all, from this map. We felt like we had a few moments where Eyeballers certainly could have turned the other cheek and had a few more rounds on that first half. You know, we had a lot of close rounds, whether it was the Sapek defuse and a Roman 1v3, or whether it came to the one-on-one that we saw on the A side. You know, there were these moments that could have acted as turning points for the Eyeballers, but each and every time they got into those positions, Seoul squeaked away with the win, and it just felt like that was the only way for them to even recover this game, because they weren't winning the opening duels, they weren't winning the opening exchanges in utility, and they were just getting eventually ground out of rounds, even if they even found some opening picks.
And there's a lot to be said about how good Son was in that game, right? You saw Mutas having some great manipulations from in between the middle area of the map, where he's able to force Flash away. They make it so Pepsar can no longer actually push through middle. He has to play the B-bomb side instead. But more than anything else, this felt like Eyeballers were just missing out on the A-bomb side, right? They just didn't have an A-bomb side defense at all on their CT side. Sapek, Shine, JW, their coordination seemed off in certain rounds. It felt like one person swinging inwards, the other person is trying to go back. They have utility in their hands. They're trying to get aggressive. They look desperate, and then Saul's just waiting for them to push into them and die. There's steam flashes going on. Honestly, that A side just looked like it was completely non-existent from the
It looked like they actually had some good ideas about how to make adjustments, but like you're saying, you know, these small little mistakes that clawed their way into all these different setups. It felt like even though the idea was good, then suddenly the execution would suddenly fall short, and they'd be in a worse situation than what they even started out with.
Well, they're definitely in a worse situation than they were at the end of the first map. The question is, can they bring that confidence back together going into the last one? We're going to be heading over to the third map very soon. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a short break.
You love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
ancient, and I'm not just talking about the careers of some of the Eyeballers players. So, coming back onto what is arguably first pick territory for them, they have picked into it quite a few times, and quite frankly, they're a pretty damn good team on it. After Vertigo, I'm a little bit worried. Tea time with Michael Yumikaze.
Yeah, definitely concerning stuff, but also Eyeballers have toyed with it in their first round rotations as well, so we've got to see what they have in store for us on the CT offering. Soul already barreling their way in towards this B bomb site and getting that plant down nice and quickly. Another 5-on-5 for the retake in these pistol rounds, but Soul have been so good at converting them in these past couple of maps. They're just trying to scramble out of cave, but they're already getting cut down.
Arrows Dache trying to move back in, and obviously this is to some extent, but it's JW to fall initially inside the smoke. So much more damage coming onto Flash on Cypec. They just have no chance of being able to get to the bomb and defuse safely. Flash is down to 3 and knows he needs to die at this point. Nothing that he can really offer to the round, or hell, even from saving. And indeed, death is an inevitable story from behind. We'll finish them off. And again, very smooth pistol round coming out from Saw, Aris, Dache, and Story, the ones to do most of the heavy lifting.
I don't think we've seen a single T-side pistol from Soul where Eyeballers have been stacked in the right place. They're always retaking the bomb site with about as many men as Soul have alive. You don't see anybody taking early fights. Just nothing. No offerings. And yeah, I mean that pistol round looked like a breeze, as of many of the T-side pistols from Soul. So it's a trend that may come back to bite the Eyeballers, considering we're all the way through into our third map, and Soul have led in every map, pretty much. Only Eyeballers that came back on their T-side of Inferno. Against these USPs, Soul shouldn't have too many batching of them. They still have Muterus on the SMG. They've got Galils as well that can try and protect the highest value weapon in Story's hands.
It's just a little bit sad in my head, Michael, because, you know, you're pointing out that Eyeballers just haven't had the stacks working for them. And even in the post, even in the first round, after the fifth round, the post-fifth round, it feels like they've always been stacks even then.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's bad luck. I don't know if there's like some voodoo juju on them, but you can't get a stack to save their lives.
Well, they keep most of the high-value weaponry. AK and the 3 Galils. And yeah, now Eyeballers will finally answer back, but it's not exactly a pristine buy. We've seen Flusha not prioritize rifles throughout this series. It's been very shotgun-centered. From Inferno to then, I think he was on SMGs, on Vertigo as well. Comfortable being a suboptimal, as long as he has extra utility, but you see the initial plan from Soul is looking rather good already. Eyeballers no anchor player. Shine will finally get here, rotating in through Donut, and has players right behind him as well, so the fact that he's kept this into a 5-on-4 is actually very advantageous. Even if Soul get this bomb down, Eyeballers have resources bad, but Pepsor doesn't even allow them space to get that plant down, and they run straight through the smoke in Donut as well. So Soul get no comfort in that A site, in spite of the fact that there was no actual site player dedicated to that side of the map.
Literally no one is watching out for the CT push. They're just so much more concerned about a push coming down from Shine because of his initial contact that they completely neglect the possibility of Pepsor doing that. It's a little bit surprising, uncharacteristic, I would say, but regardless, great point to start getting involved again. Pepsor obviously did actually try to get aggressive a fair bit back in Vertigo as well early on in the rounds, but he didn't really find any success doing it. So if that can start to activate it a little bit more, if Pepsor is feeling comfortable, if Flashlight can maintain form, you know, maybe a little bit something extra coming out from the rest of the three, yeah, you're in for a game at the very least.
You wonder how much of a burden it will be, the fact they got just absolutely destroyed on Vertigo. I'm sure they knew what they were getting themselves into to a certain extent. But, you know, we looked at many of the maps in this series, and, you know, there's maybe one there for the Eyeballers that looks sort of amiss in the Vertigo pick, but for Soul, I mean, they basically got 3 maps that they play frequently. Definitely had the edge when it came to the Veto. Eyeballers upset in that first one, but I wonder which kind of a story we'll get here on Ancient. Decent onto Sapek given the spam is via a deagle. Sapek's not connected on any of his bullets.
Even then, eyeballers, without the most information in the world, there's a little bit of noise, and they have been starting to inch back towards the B bomb site, like you said, but unfortunately now reinforcing down mid, and that gives them avenues to start flanking in, but it might be too late. There's already been trades on the side itself, and with smokes down, there's very little that you can do to prevent the bomb plant beyond just pushing through, and it's unlikely that they fall for that twice in a row. Arizdocha as well, late on the lurk, will be looking to activate very soon. Aware of it, but it will not matter. Awareness does not mean defense is guaranteed in JW. However, they're completely unaware of his positioning, and he will come in from behind. Good for just the one, though. Everyone else is safely nestled away. Shine as well, forced out into the open. There's a smoke down on the bomb, and they need to start tapping it. Shine is the only one with the kit. He's looking to stick the defuse. JW as well is being lined up on, and they will stop it from happening. Arizdocha's flank coming in all the way back from the T-spawn will be able to activate.
It actually looked like Arizdocha was going to get there a little too late. You saw them really rushing to get out of cave to stop them from that defuse. That smoke was imperfect, but really good heads-up play there from JW, losing his teammate in Flusha that also committed to a flank. But because he had died, and because there was no additional firing coming in from Arizdocha on that mid-lurk, knew that he was sort of unsuspected. That was a way back in for the eyeballers, but so timing does favor them. Nice urgency from Arizdocha. Realizing the part he had to still play. Move here from the eyeballers, but Arizdocha will not miss opportunities like that. Such a hard angle to fight. Flusha still fighting as well with the Mag 7. Arizdocha was expecting him to simply peel and run.
Well, by the time Flusha gets back close to the bomb site, it's already been occupied. And you have to realize that. A smoke down to try and at least put some chaos into things, but in the chaos, he's losing teammates. Sapek traded out, and advantage is lost. Even then, Flusha is fighting through the M4 recovered earlier on, back to a 2-on-2. Bomb yet to be revealed, remember, so it could have started to siphon its way back to the B bomb site. They've realized it, but unfortunately, Sauce will committed to A.
Yeah, they've really bitten down on the idea that they would reset after everybody had revealed their position over towards this A side. They were in such an awkward spot here, so because they had no A main control and they had to worry about CT and Temple alike, but yeah, the eyeballers have committed the wrong direction and they realize their mistake now that the bomb's gone down and this bomb site's empty.
Uterus is fantastic. Knows that Pepsor is nearby, but Pepsor just overruns him, and now suddenly the game is back on. They've got a smoke. They don't have a kit. They need to be on the defuse as fast as humanly possible, and even that might not be enough, and indeed, it's not going to be. Flashbang forward, Arizdocha going for the B, going for the spam, can't connect it, barely gets a bullet in the end, and eyeballers are going to be off the defuse once again. Flusha, just so sure of his demise that he chooses to try and fight instead.
Oh man, the observer had me going there for a second. I was like, he's off the defuse at just as soon as we lose the X-ray, and it was practically impossible to see where Flusha got off to. But yeah, you're right. He heard that Glock spamming, and he thought for sure he was a dead man walking. Wanted to kill his direction instead. God, that feels eerily similar to a Vertigo round we had. Sapek was spinning for the defuse. Flusha knew he had nowhere to move, though. Wow. Yeah, well, they've rehearsed.
I think eyeballers are gonna have a rough time bringing themselves into this game. Safe to say.
Till Sapek just like not move as well. Thought after the first few bullets, he'd give up, right?
What do you even do?
The walls aren't
safe. The only
safe.
round that eyeballers have gotten so far is where Pepsor pushes right through smoke to get a double kill spray down while the bomb is being planted and Saw is neglected an angle.
Without neglect, it does feel like there's little to really harp on about here for the eyeballers. Isn't JW just dead to the bomb here? Or no?
Potato, potato. Both are dead and ready to be eaten. Is a potato really dead? Because if you plant it afterwards, it does actually grow out into something new.
Yeah, I don't know. Root vegetables are a weird one.
Yeah. I once saw a potato sprout out of another potato because it had been sitting in storage for too long. That was so strange. As a child, it was just weird. Like, not like a full potato, but like, you know, you start to see a little bit coming out. Yeah. Just strange.
That's more potato than I signed up for.
Well, Zapek nicely done the double to start off, and he's even turned around for a little more contention. Pepsor, in the meanwhile, finds Ujurx, who's trying to cheat past the smoke. It's Roman, the only one to frag from Saw thus far. Eyeballers are setting up for a second round on the board.
Yeah, finally addressing some of the roots of the problem. Mid-control for Saw has been great in a few of these rounds. They've been able to break into the A-bomb site as a result of just taking so much territory in the early stages that eyeballers are constantly reacting. But a nice initiative move here from the Swedes. And Zapek's the one that really puts all the pieces together. JW as well might just put the final pieces of the puzzle for the eyeballers for completion. The second round is looking like it's a done deal. But Roman will still try his hand at it. Has reserve cash. There's a buy for Soul in the following round. Be in his best interest to make this as expensive as possible.
Damage is going to be very important regardless, though.
Yeah, there are two tracks of mind you can have here. You know, you have a buy guaranteed, but then also at the same time he is saving more value than he is going to gain from the loss bonus. So don't hate either option really, but the eyeballers will certainly be wiping small beads of sweat off their brow because they know keeping 3 alive is important for them to sustain any sort of a defense in coming rounds. If they are able to win, say, back-to-back here, Soul's money wouldn't be in a great place to contest, but they also might be tempted to go for a half buy or a force buy even. And if the eyeballers would lose that, then suddenly they're in really troubling territory because they're losing their loss bonus as well as having taken casualties in prior rounds. I'm saying it will happen, but it could.
Yeah.
And that's the concern.
Another concerning point is the fact that Shine and JW are once again a little bit out of the game. And look, I know the eyeballers just want to round on the back of Sampek's fantastic play. I'm hoping that we can see something similar from Shine and JW soon as well.
I barely noticed that between them they've got 1 kill, so...
Yeah, and 12 deaths. Not great. Blusha is going to stick to the swag over on the A-bomb site. Honestly, I think Ancient is particularly bad for the Max 7 anywhere except for maybe Donut and Cave. But he's going to try and make it work. Let's see whether it can actually get anything done. There aren't any flashes left, so that does actually make it much more powerful. But they made so much noise moving in. Strafing out to the far right side as well makes it almost impossible to get a one-shot with a Max 7. And they've lost everyone, but trades are theirs. Pepsor and JW both activating a kill apiece, and Saw are completely halted. Remember, no utilities, so they have to rely on aim, and they've got plenty of that as well. Pepsor accelerate through, but Story's on the other side, and his HP just simply wasn't enough to try and contest in the round. Eyeballers still locked to 2.
Yeah, the struggles continue, and I definitely feel kind of the same way about having a shotgun there. You saw Flusher with so much responsibility, so many different angles he had to fight on, and he basically had to play close, otherwise his weapon is effectively useless. His teammates couldn't get there in time to support him. By the time I think JW got round towards CT, it was already smoked off by Soul on the execute. See, Eyeballers down to a half buy. Using weapons is suboptimal, and they're certainly going to feel the effects of it in this round. Kind of a dangerous move here from Muterus. JW went into the smoke to try and catch him off, but they kept exchanging places. When Muterus went into red, JW went in the smoke, and vice versa. There was more players than just Muterus, though. That was very strange. Yeah, it's like when it's exactly like Scooby-Doo. Through one door, out the other.
Yeah. Kai just come through. The quick kill for himself. Unfortunately, won't really matter too much, but at least he inaugurates the scoreboard. That's kind of nice, I guess.
Yeah, it took me a while before I realized that Scooby-Doo and Popeye are the same TV program, but with less characters. Scooby Snacks, like, powered them up.
They didn't power them up. They just liked eating them.
I mean, yeah, but they had some, like, next level plot armor.
But
They had next level plot armor.
Yeah, you didn't expect like the criminals to come and like kill the teenagers, right?
Nope.
Like, it's not. It's a kids show, not Counter Strike.
Yeah.
God, imagine this one day season. Dead dog and Scooby-Doo. No, man. Roman comes through. Pepsor is gone, and he is traded out very soon afterwards. Sapek keeps himself involved in a live Shine as well, getting off a little bit early on and keeping his life. Most importantly, Story is not in a position to trade, and Sapek is not going to be quite expected because the Molotov didn't spread over to him. Still, Story goes for another one. Quick scope on to Shine, and everything that was looking nice and peachy is suddenly getting a little bit spoiled.
Story's had his Scooby Snacks. I mean, a fantastic double. And now you just have to rely on Flusher once again in these clutch situations. And sure, he is a man that can certainly pull these back. But Soul have been so damn good at clearing things out. They've even pushed deep CT and realized that Flusher's not coming in from that direction. Bomb's not in a great place to contest aside from that short position. But that's where Muterus can act as the first prong. Nade will land at his feet and will show exactly where Flush is coming from, but he knows he's limited on time and has to stick it at some point or another. Smoke down. Muterus will take the fight, and so now Story's left in a worse position, but there's no time left. Story will even put Flusher into the grave, but the bomb will take him down as well. It doesn't matter. Soul already winning out this half. 8 rounds on this T side. Eyeballers are left wanting.
And every single time, it seems like they've actually found a way back into it. It's just not there. I don't know what you do. Because
They had the man
unfortunately,
advantage.
yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, the solutions are being found, right? And we saw this on Vertigo as well. Good adjustments. Nothing comes off. It's better. It's a better look than Vertigo. They're at least still getting a couple of kills here and there, but nothing is found from the adjustments.
Once again, Flusher will see the shortcomings of his shotgun attack, but only for 14 damage. Arisdoche is about as healthy as could be. It's just that Sean has at least taken his place over at A main and could find a flank in through middle. So while Saw are moving in towards this B bomb site, there could be a sitting duck in Arisdoche waiting to be found. Roman leading the way in. Pepsor 1 kill, but there's an immediate trade back from Sapek. But Shine was found on his flank as well. So could have been a silver lining way back into this round, but now Sapek's even been spotted recovering the rifle. They're trapped in, and all their rotates are completely siphoned. I mean, that's just not fair. You got spammed.
Dude, again, it's like they're doing the right thing. They have a stack of 3 players at the B bomb site that's getting ready for the peaks to start coming in, right? And you've got a flank coming in from behind that can use the timing. They try and make the flank be a little bit more relevant by getting a kill from an early peak on B and also getting some information. But the early peak just dies. Pepstar just doesn't find anything there. And it all falls apart
Yeah.
there and then.
And Shine hesitated as well on his flank. You know, he didn't round the elbow corner to quickly capitalize. And by the time he did finally make his move, that sword started to account for it. Or just being meticulous. And if you're going to catch them off guard, you best make use of the small gaps you have. But how are eyeballs? They're trying to play to a pace that feels comfortable to them while making all these adjustments. And yeah, sure they're finding some kills, but like you said, it's just not actually ending up in anything fruitful for these Swedes. You might see their ESL Challenger League come to a close on this third map, which would be quite a fashion as well. So we're dominant on Vertigo. They're showing more domination here on Ancient as well. See if Flusha and the boys can bring it back. At least one kill on this execute. Clawed back here on the defense, and they are heavily reinforcing this area of the map. There are no lurkers here for Soul to re-navigate to the other side, but eyeballers, after they see no more presence, they will be suspicious.
They have been so worried about the rotates back to B consistently when Saw have shown that they've been largely a single track kind of team in Ancient. They've been going where they start off with. And unfortunately, eyeballers are once again falling to their own double guessing. They've rotated away. Flush is good for a second. Still not found from behind the smoke. It's Aras Doce to finally activate from the flank. So there wasn't one, but coming through middle. Sort of count. Story found out as well in the meanwhile. Shine on the retake. Now, they do have a kid on Shine, so he has to try and keep himself alive. He's very separated from the rest of his teammates, and there's no utility left of a hair for Saul either. Both players' position is known. They are closing the distance. The grenades will find nothing, and the defuse is coming through. Shine can just sit on this one, and then finally, the defuse stick actually materializes. It feels like I've seen far too many rounds from eyeballers where they could have had it, and unfortunately, they just move away.
Yeah, they've come so close on some of these diffuses. It does finally come through, and that's because Soul planted in a very safe position, one in which Story was supposed to capitalize from his spot, but he gave up Temple. He let his players sort of cross towards Donut, and you know, his responsibilities were bigger picture than just simply allowing his teammates safe passage. So not without their flaws, Soul. They've been playing with fewer mistakes. Lovely opener.
JW finally gets a chance to actually take a proper duel with the AWP, and he is just dead. I think he even actually got a shot off. I might have heard that one wrong, but
Yeah.
I think he did.
But Story peaked perfectly on the flash timing.
Yeah. Hurts. Getting a little bit feisty over there. So that I find the flag save back coming in from what a beautiful little set of frags. It's so reminiscent of what we saw from Pepsor as well with the M4A4 pushing through the smoke. Now just coming in through Cheetah. Gets a double. Aras Doce, however, has still somehow managed to equalize. And despite every single advantage that eyeballers can try and find on an individual level, it's still even Steven.
This head-to-head, this one fight will determine the round. Bomb on Aras Doce's back, and Pepsor is really concerned about a number of different avenues. Muter's is trying to make some presence, some noise over towards A, but Shine was without the audibles outside of earshot. Pepsor is leant over towards an A play, even in spite of that.
I think Shine heard like a footstep from Muter's towards the very end, actually.
Yeah, maybe. Why else would you be so convinced?
Yeah. Because you can hear from inside Donut. It's a little bit complicated, but you can. 8 seconds. Bomb's going to be planted. The one-time eyeballers is not going to rotate over to the B-bomb side. That's a one-time Soul is actually already there, and they've got it down. Now, kits available for both players, and Incendiary as well as Shine coming in from behind. But Shine's going to be caught out and spotted out as well. Muterus, all he has to do is make sure that there's nothing else going on. What's this? Pepsaw walks right into his death, and Aras Doce is gone and found the third as well. 10 on the board now for Saw.
Man, to think that they have this advantage again. A 3-on-2 after Sapek found these 2 kills into cave. thought I mean, actually, yeah, 3-on-3 that made it into a 3-on-2 very quickly. But for them not to be able to retain that advantage for even a moment, again, it feels like eyeballers are just picking the wrong sides of the map. Whether it's been the stack calls on these pistol rounds, whether it's been these low buys, or whether it's been in these late round moments, they have misread Soul. They've been punished every single time. There's been one round where eyeballs have been able to claw it back on the retake in spite of resetting their defenses. But now Soul move into what is a vacant A play. Started 4B with this half bite. So now it's a full 5-on-5. And they've only got pistols to try and counteract.
Their stacks just never work. How do you even blame them?
It's mad.
Like, did you get like a reverse damage foot, like a 24 leaf clover or something?
50% of the time, it works every time. But 50% of the time, it also misses
Never
every
works.
time. Yeah, it's been something to wrap our heads around, to be honest, because yeah, it is crazy to think how many times you have a 50-50 of should we play more A focused or more B focused, and they've just gotten it wrong.
Yeah.
Zor in their comms.
Feels like Mutas might be IGLing for both teams right now.
Sapek had a little heroic, a little bit of flair to him. A couple of rounds passed. Now last round of the half. Need more like it. Shine flashed up, double at that. He is just completely overrun, but no, they don't clear for him. Roman and Ujerk so focused on Peptor's position, and they start off with a 5-on-3, just now made to a 4-on-2. Surely, there's no way they let this one fall through their fingertips.
That's at least what you would hope. So Eyeballer is also just keeping them things nicely locked down. Flush's position is also impeccable. He's largely been their big performer across the series, so can't probably rely on him unlocking that out. Arizdoche moving in. He's been fantastic, but this is not a shot that he's got a chance of hitting. 1-on-4 Story might be about to take a knee over here. Seems like a matter of time with his position given up now as well. They definitely heard that Thick of Flames actually tagging him down, and that's where Pepsor can get aggressive. Story will find one. JW, though, gets revenge from earlier. 4-11. Eyeballers are at least able to make this slightly prettier than Vertigo, but I can't say it's been a great sight overall. We're off to a break. We're back. We'll have to see whether they can bring it back. Look, the flames haven't died out. We still have some embers from eyeballers, but Soul's been looking damn good so far. 11-4 on Vertigo. They look dominant, and right now Ancient's not too far removed.
Yeah, it's been surprisingly one-sided after a very strong effort to come back into Inferno. Eyeballers have not looked like the same big threat. See if this T-side pistol can offer us something at the very least, though. Getting a lot of control for minimal contact, but so are ready for this.
Dooley is coming through with 3. Muterus is just the man of the hour. He's IGLing for both teams, and he's killing for both teams as well.
What did he have for breakfast? Muterus has been exceptional this whole series, and he's now got a 4th kill as well. JW none the wiser and continue aggressing, and these dualies ain't just stopping there. Muterus has another chance to finish off the ace, but it's Story that takes it away from him. 4 kills from, like you said, our in-game leader, but also one of our consistent fraggers for Soul.
Dude, Muterus has eyeballs for breakfast.
That is terrifying.
Honestly, that is pretty scary when you think about it.
That's one of those fever dream, weird cartoon things I'd expect to see.
Instead of like a fried sunny side up, this got a pupil side up. Yeah.
I was thinking cereal more like.
Oh, okay, that too, I guess. Bit big for cereal, but yeah, maybe like really small ones. Roman though is the big man, and right now I want the big money. Almost.
Yeah, almost. Ujerx finally finishes off business though. It's so good to see Muterus in this kind of a form as well, because I think at one point or another we were definitely comparing him, or at least I would have compared him to the likes of like a Tabson, you know, especially when it comes to Vertigo. I feel like they play very similar, you know, inserting themselves in the middle of the map, always there to sort of like bounce between bomb sites to help support whoever he needs to, and always felt like, you know, he could still play to a relatively high degree. So
Yeah.
got all that experience, and he's got the fragging to back it up as well. Bowlers, they need this round. Otherwise, it will be a quick shutter on the ruins of Ancient.
I really like the angle that Muterus has taken. It's a very, very annoying off angle from either side. Muterus just keeps his spam going. So much damage found in the Sapphic as well. And yeah, the aggression continues. Oh.
Jesus.
I don't know if you can wall bang that.
I think you can. It's not exactly killing kind of damage, but Stein doesn't exactly have full HP, so it could have been devastating. But Flusha at least brings it back to a 4-4. They're taking a lot of damage in these fights, though.
You know, this is just eyeballers taking duels and unfortunately losing them. So is just aggressively peeking into them time and time again. And eyeballers are in position, right? Like, it's not like they're being caught with utility out again, but they're just not winning. Bomb will be planted at the very least at 2-on-3, which is going to be one of their best shots of trying to bring things back in. If you lose this one out, well, someone's a bit too close to the finish line at that point, and they're collecting. Remember, Roman is the only one with the kit. Molotov down in. They do force out the first duel. Pepsor has to be very careful to go for the spray down onto both, and Roman will prevent that from happening in any capacity whatsoever.
I mean, excellent patience there from Saw. Arazdoch was still holding onto that A bomb site, and when they realized that bomb was going down B, they just made sure that the planter could not escape the pillar. He had nowhere to go. Covered from long, covered from short, they even doubled up together and left these small gaps where he could have escaped. But if you're in that position on the eyeballers, how are you going to know that your spot isn't being covered for 1-2 seconds even? So they waited for Arazdoche, who had a Molotov, and so they always had this one frag basically guaranteed. Courtesy of the bomb plant and the loss bonus, eyeballers do still have another buy back in, but I felt like the best chance to start the engine here in the second half. First buy can say a lot. And right now, all Saw are concerned about is saying goodbye to their opponents.
Dude, someone's been having such a good time. It feels like, you know what? Maybe we should drop a DM and be like, can we make this a BL5 instead?
They will give no sympathy.
JW finding a very important opener. Muterus goes down without actually getting much information out at all. So will be forced to go for more aggression. Roman, however, the man to deliver it, and he delivers death right alongside. Dodging out on all of the bullets from the spam as well. So he's looking to get a nice little chokehold down middle, potentially, but it is the smoke being phased that could be a problem. Utrix moves away from it. However, Roman is leading the aggression forward. JW caught out completely, and it is just aggression on aggression on aggression, and all of it is coming up Eyeballers is dead.
Yeah, Story heard Flusher running as well. He was left on a late lurk through A. Oh man, JW fell asleep at the wheel. Roman, none the wiser that he'd be so close, but a whiff from one of the players that, you know, definitely coming into this series I was expecting more out of. JW can really be a propellant at times for the Eyeballers, especially in the series that are quite tough. But I mean, we've seen difficulties for the AWP to get engaged, and I think the rifle work is pulled into question. Okay. Need 11 straight now from here, and it doesn't seem like the Eyeballers have that much left in the tank. Pepsor straight through the smoke. Does find Muterus off guard, but not able to do too much damage. Muterus still standing his ground, and he's here alone. Has Aris Dolce miles off in towards Red Room, but he's already been sectioned off. Still, his damage is felt. Eyeballers sure they have middle, but they're down an extra man.
Muterus plays that perfectly. He dodges out the flashbangs while still keeping an eye out on them as well. And now Aris Dolce has been set up for the alley-oop, but he dunks it right down. 16 for the projection seems to be coming true. Flusher, the only one who can potentially try and put up a defense. Potential, however, unlikely to be realized with the map state with his HP and with the number of players he has to face down. Saw will move forward and face off against one win next in their lower bracket, while Eyeballers are going to be left sightless in the ESL Challenger League Season 45 European Division.
Yeah, this was already our second life being offered up to either of these teams, and sure the Eyeballers had taken down some pretty strong opponents in their path to the ESL Challenger League to try and get deeper and deeper into the bracket. But, you know, they might have been able to dispatch a K23 with a new look, you know, Boston Crab additions. In fact, they did so quite handily, but Seoul just proved too much to handle on these last couple of maps. I mean, even taking Inferno off of them felt like a bit of a surprise coming into this series, but then we started to see, I think, the power and, I guess, the strength of Seoul as we got further and further into this series, where it felt like Eyeballers couldn't put up a healthy performance on either of these last two maps.
And there's two things that I just had to bring up first and foremost, Michael. I got to go back to the Veto, right? That's where I go back and question again, who the hell let Vertigo and Ancient through, right? Like, why is Inferno not your last pick? Sure, you mentioned it. Maybe you want to secure one. Secure it in the end. Securing one won't matter if you're going to lose the next two anyway, right? Overpass and Inferno seemed like they were the two that they had to try and make this come through for themselves. And unfortunately, Saw just walks all over them. Second thing is, dear Flush has still got it. Maybe let him have a rifle more often. Or Flusha, if you're the one making that decision, shut up and take the rifle.
Yeah, no, I mean, there were definitely some moments where it felt like if he had a rifle, maybe they would have, you know, more influence, because it felt like he was, you know, he wasn't taking super aggressive angles, but he was catching them off guard a lot, and it felt like he was somewhat limited by his weapon choice. I do think that is his own decision, because he was just as effective, so it's a little bit strange to sort of argue against that, but I think it was just a failing of the whole squad here on Eyeballers. I said earlier that sometimes they come into games that they have difficulties firing up on any of their respective star players. Hell, that trifecta of the experience in Pepsor, JW, Flusher are usually the ways they get back into games. But then you sometimes have Sapek or Shine have these pop-offs, and it didn't feel like anybody really got on a heater in those last couple of maps.
Look, enough about Eyeballers, though, because we got some great play from Saw, and who better to ask about that great play than Aris Doce, who I do believe we have with us for the interview. Aris Doce, how are you doing?
Yes,
Hello.
our newest addition to the Seoul camp. You're relinking with some old teammates, as well as joining an organization that, you know, is quite well known within the region. How does it feel to to play as well as this against some old legends as well as, ex-teammates?
Yeah, I used to watch them play some old majors. Playing with my old teammates again it's very good for me. I'm feeling very happy for this opportunity. Yeah, and that's it.
Dude, I have to ask, right? That Inferno 4v1 that unfortunately you guys lost, like against Flash Out, what were the comms like after that? Like what's going on? You're going into the next half. What's going on in the team?
No, we just kept our calm. We didn't think about that round. Yeah, it sucks we lost it, but we needed to focus on the game. Yeah.
Okay. We were quite surprised with the maps that came into this series. Inferno, Vertigo, Ancient. Like, it feels like you got basically first picks on almost every single map. Did you guys feel very comfortable with how this Veto played out for you?
Yeah, we were expecting this Veto. The Inferno is a bit shaky, but the other two we feel very comfortable to play.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And a final question from my end, man. Like that Vertigo was just something different. It felt like you guys knew everything that was happening. Was that like research? Was the Muterus just having the most insane calling he's ever had? Like, what's going on over there?
No, we didn't anti-strat. We just did our game. We played how we usually play on practice. Uh, yeah, we just know how to rotate on Vertigo, how to play the gaps we have. Yeah.
So you say you didn't do any anti-stratting. I swear, every time they were on an anti-eco or on a half buy and they stacked somewhere, you guys never went to that side of the map. It's like, even if you didn't do anti-stratting, it was like you were anti-stratting them. It was mental. I don't know what happened in the comms for you guys to never fall into a stack.
No, I don't know. We just played. We played with sound, the comms. I get space on B, they get space on ramp and mid, and we just decided, and yeah, that's it.
Listen, man, it's just that easy, Michael. Just use your microphone, and you're not going to go into stacks ever in Counter Strike. There you have it from Arizdocha. Arizdocha, we're going to let you go though. Thank you so much. You guys have got another game versus 1-win soon. Good luck with that one, and hopefully we guys can see you keeping on moving forward in the ESL Challenger League.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
You too. And it is a great day for the Soul Boys. I mean, the man, Sweet Rice himself, able to tell us that there was no anti-stratting. They just outplayed them. I mean, simply they played their base level game and they were all over the eyeballers.
Listen, man, we don't do research. It's just vibes, It's vibes and mics. That's what it's all about. The comms going on and just knowing everything that's sort of happening. Yeah. Honestly, I still have to say, individually, Roman popped off on Vertigo, right? We had Arizdocha having a great map on Ancient as well. But the calling was consistently fantastic and on a level that I haven't seen from Saw in a while, right? Like, I'm thinking back towards when they hit their initial high of highs. And if they keep going on like this, I could see this team making a pretty damn nice, sneaky run over towards the Pro League season as well. But that being said, of course, they've got to be moving past 1 win. We're going to be closing out the show for now, though. Thank you all for tuning in. Of course, you guys can catch more of the Soul Boys over tomorrow, same time, same place. Maybe some slightly different faces, but we'll be with you guys in Twitch chat regardless. See you guys then.
You love it, you wear it. What's your style? Get your merch at shop.eslgaming.com.
I'm doing everything he doesn't do, but I'm still not enough. Even your parents know I'm good for you, but I'm still not enough. You wanna be done with him, you're stuck with him, 'cause you don't